All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Market Close. It is Friday. Your boy had to hop on early for this Friday. Thank you, everybody, for being here. This is the third Friday of 2026, the second trading week of 2026 as we come to a close. And once again, we don't have gains towards the end of the day as we are going red. This happened 3 days in a row. A little sus, if you ask me, but the S&P 500 right there, 692, basically flat on the, not necessarily, well, no, it is flat, 0.27% or 0.27 cents down, 0.004% down on the day, 692. We opened at 690 on Monday, got to 695, fell to 686. We're right back at 692. So throughout the week, not many gains or losses, but certain stocks have obviously took a hit. SoFi potentially going below 26 before the 3-day weekend that we're getting into. Monday, we will not have a market open or close because we will not be having the markets open on Monday. MasterCard, that's down in the day. Visa getting a little bit of a rebound. Iran's been a champ all day. I don't know what the headline is to get this thing to pump 12%, but has completely diverged from some of the other names. Nebius did get up to 110 at one point. Right now at 108. It was at 101 during the day. CoreWeave 101. Oh, wow. CoreWeave above 100. I don't think that happened yesterday. So there you go. CoreWeave above 100 as we get into the close. Again, S&P flat. Zeta got hit down 5.7. Rocket Lab got all the way up to 99.58. It really did try to get back above 99. The most it got to was 98.82. And then it got hit again, but it's probably going to close above 95, which is pretty incredible for Rocket Lab. ASTS as well got above 120. ASTS right here is at 115. Still up 13% on the day. Tesla's been stuck the majority of the day. Hasn't really been able to do much. Literally been in this like $2 to $3 range throughout the day. Rocket Lab again, 96.61. Palantir got hit. We will talk about the SaaS names. By the way, we'll have Macro Thursday with Chris, or Friday, because Chris missed yesterday. So he'll be on in about 20 minutes. Palantir struggling to hold on to 170. Will not surprise me if it closes beneath it. The big thing for today as well is that we do have a lot of options that are expiring. We went through a bunch of different stocks and hundreds of thousands of those calls or puts are open. And so obviously, certain ones get in the money, certain ones are not getting the money, certain ones are potentially being manipulated to get in or out of the money. And that's also probably creating a lot of weird behavior. The other big thing for today and why we got, I think, some red, VG, did that one hold 5%? VG, wow, 9%. 870 on VG. If you bought this thing at 6, then you're pretty freaking happy. 872, look at that, up 9% of the day. The other big thing is it's a 3-day weekend, right? So there's going to be tons of people that are probably closing positions and just don't want to hold for the next 3 days. You have a bunch of different headlines from Trump that we'll talk about. He's been saying a variety of things around healthcare, Greenland. Market's not necessarily liking it. Also, the 10-year has been abysmal today. Look at this, 4.227. It was at 4.21 in the morning. We talked about why the 10-year going up is not a good thing, at least the yield on it going up as the bond goes down. It's not good. It's really not good to see these levels. We haven't honestly seen this since the summer. So the fact that it's gapping up right here, some level of instability is entering into the market, and that's creating a lot more pain right here. S&P again, flat, VG 872, S&P at 691. The Qs, let's check the Mag 7. Tesla's been flat all day. Amazon ends up being flat. Meta got to 629 at one point, back to 621. That one green on the day, but flat. Google 329. This one's kind of been flat all week, even though it did gap up almost to that 340 level. And then Microsoft, which has sucked all week, at least above 460 as we get into the close. The other thing that's really important to remember as well is just a lot of these names, like an Amcor, like a Zeta, they were up a lot in the first, call it 12 days of trading. So over the last couple of days, if they're taking a breather, it's normal, right? This is something that just has to be said. It's like if some stock's up 20% year to date, like a Zeta was or like an Amcor was, doesn't mean it has to hold those gains at all, even if it's trying to normalize in that range. And I think, entry price at that point really does matter, but also having conviction when you enter in after something is up 20%. Like if you're getting into Rocket Lab right now, again, you better damn sure have conviction. I was speaking to someone who's heavy in Rocket Lab today, and he was like, I cannot believe that it's holding this multiple. I don't think it's going to hold this multiple. I'm selling calls because I can't fathom this actually holding. But maybe it does. But he's been in Rocket Lab since like $7, right? So, and it's not Matt, it's someone else. So the question then becomes, and I think Matt would also probably question, can it hold this multiple? So if you're putting net new money into a stock after it's up 40% year to date, you just can't complain if it takes a breather. Yeah, Rock Lab right here, 30% up year to date. Now, Hood obviously has been in the gutter because of this crypto legislation. Hood did get all the way to 106.88. Then it got a little bit of a bounce, but obviously this year has sucked for Hood as well. Hood's year to date, I think, is down 10%. Year to date, 6%. Not the best, but trying to hold in this $100 range. Meta right here, 621. Google as well at 329. Aerospace, Fly Aerospace, that one great day, 10.96%. Lunar, ASTS, a lot of the space names getting some momentum. Look at that. Lunar up 10.31% on the day. How about On Semiconductor? I see Sam in the chat. That one flat today. Rubrik as well. At one point, On was at like 62. Rubrik also getting hit. The software names are just really sad. It's just a lot of people that believe in these companies and businesses. I know Adobe's the big one, but they have not been getting the benefit of the doubt. I think that's also why Palantir and Zeta are probably getting hit. I mean, there's no real fundamental reason. I think both those names should be down, but when Adobe and Salesforce are down, yeah, those are going to get hit. And then NVIDIA can't hold gains for the life of it. So NVIDIA right there, look at that. It's 20 cents away from going red on this Friday. All right, at this point, NVIDIA is just being toyed with. 136 million shares. Has not been able to hold on to this momentum. Somehow BMNR is green. I actually didn't see it. BMNR, yeah, it's green by a cent. ETH is 32.85. That lost 3,400 from yesterday. And then Bitcoin right down to 95.2, although that's up from 94. A couple clips from Trump. Here's what he had to say about the healthcare plan, which it seems like is now going to be a big deal for the administration this year.
Thank you, Mr. President. Can you explain how you view, your great healthcare plan will impact Americans' health insurance premiums?
It's going to be it is a tremendous plan. It's called the Great Healthcare Plan. And we're going to get tremendous reductions, as you know, through, if you look at medicines and prescription drugs, they're going to come down by numbers that have never been seen before. And we're doing that by most favored nations. And other nations, whoever pays the lowest in the world, that's what we're going to pay. Right now, we're paying sometimes 10 times higher than other nations. So we have favored nations. That's been approved. Other nations have, for the most part, agreed to it. And they had no choice. Otherwise, we were going to put tariffs on them.
So Trump did have that whole roundtable around the healthcare plan. Now he's talking about threatening with tariffs. He's also talking about if you do business with Greenland, we're going to tariff you. So, I mean, I don't know, dude. I don't know what the heck's going to happen here. Just from my own understanding of politics, it takes a lot of political capital to get a healthcare bill out there. And I don't know if Trump's easily going to be able to get the job done. But that has been something that the markets are trying to consider and factor into a lot of different equations. NVIDIA right there, 187.24. For everyone asking what exactly is the plan, I don't know. All I know is it's a great plan, as per the wording of it. And then second of all, it will give Americans more choice on their healthcare, which to me seems like a recycled idea that people have floated around for a long time and it hasn't really panned out. So I don't know if it's going to actually do its thing, but we're going to have to see how the Republicans think about it. VG right there, 10.48% of the day, 879. That one's getting some love. And then NVIDIA right there, 187. Again, the software names really, really, really getting hit. Palantir included. IGV down another 2% on the day. We listened to some stuff in the morning around certain analysts saying that software could go down another 7 to 8%. The two problems with software is that AI is commoditizing the business. Claude Cowork today messed up a lot of stuff with Salesforce's chatbots and Path's RPA. And then you have this idea that, well, the software companies aren't even growing, even though they say they're AI leaders, right? Adobe is growing 8%, Salesforce growing 10%. Very, very hard to imagine that AI is immediately going to change that. And, if it does, we'll see it in the growth numbers, but we just haven't yet. So I think that's been the issue with software throughout the past weekend as a sector. I mean, the fact that even AppLovin, dude, AppLovin at the end of the day, I forgot, it's a software name. Same thing with Palantir. These guys have growth rates that are phenomenal. AppLovin, 560. This is November lows. This is freaking November lows on AppLovin. The lowest it got to in November was 530. And then bounced back up to 750. Now it's back at 560. There's no fundamental reason why this should be happening. But nonetheless, software names are indeed getting hit. SoFi as well. Did we hold 26? SoFi, yeah, I mean, she's holding on to 26 for dear life. That's down another 1.49%. A couple different macro charts. We got 6 minutes until the market closes. A couple things that I thought were relatively interesting. If you take a look at this, tech stocks are still being bought up. So this is Bank of America's research. Record single stock inflows for communication services is still up, 2.2 billion in inflows last week. This follows 400 million the prior week, and industrials actually had 1.5 billion of outflows. At the same time, 1.3 billion in financials were down last week. Overall, single stocks saw 2.2 billion in outflows. So one of the only sectors, there's a couple of them along with utilities, but one of the main sectors that actually got some inflows last week were technology stocks, communication services. Those stocks aren't really up a lot from last week. So, I mean, there's probably a lot more net flows going into other sectors, obviously the high beta names, energy, space. But you are seeing people take some profits from financials, which is kind of conducive with the price action we've seen this week as the biggest banks in the world had some of the best earnings we've seen in the past 2 years, and they still went down. A lot of those stocks were up a lot last year. And then technology stocks getting some of the love. Amazon, Meta, Nvidia, although those stocks aren't moving, they are getting some more inflows. At the same time, and the one thing I did buy today is COPEX. I added more to copper. I think this dip is actually, it's not even really a dip, down 2%, but I did think this dip was, I think the thing got to like 84. It was at 80 today, so bought a little bit of that. You did see silver go down 3% today. And as you can see right here, retail investors have bought the largest physical backed silver ETF, SLV, for 169 consecutive days. Retail buying activity in silver is now 2.1 times the 3-month moving average. And now this is past the 2021 levels that came into commodities. Over the last 30 days alone, silver-linked ETFs have achieved $921 million of inflows. So I kind of do like copper as the trade to catch up to it, especially because it's not as volatile as silver. But nonetheless, if you're betting on one or the other, I mean, they both probably have to move in the right direction. Gold right there down 1%, and then silver down about 3% on the day. Weird week, strange week. If you were heavily leveraged into space, good week. If you were super bowled up on Ondas at 14, not the best, as that one has taken a correction after the dilution, but still holding on to 12. Most people got into this way below 12, so it's doing well. Apple down 1% on the week, or 1% on the day. Oscar getting hit, even with this healthcare news. Lemonade getting hit. OSS, which has held up really nicely from that $9 level, 1063. That's down 2%. Open Door actually up 5% on the day. That's getting a little bit of love. And then Nvidia, as we get into the close, last 3 minutes. Wow. Why not? Why not a little dumpy dump for Nvidia? Are you holding COPEX for the long term? Yeah, it's less of a trade. I mean, this one is actually like, I'm trying to do a lot more fundamental due diligence around copper. It feels like the basic premise is there's a shortage and prices probably have to go higher. So that one is more of a long-term hold. Nvidia right there, 186.50 right at the close. Gets a nice little hit. Where was Grab? I think Grab, we lost 540. Yeah, 438. Got to 436. We were at 455 during the day. Then we lost it. Volume on this thing, again, massive. 60 million shares. Yesterday was 120 million shares, as this one continues to try to consolidate in that range. And then Robinhood right here, 108.65. Palantir, are we holding 170? All right, 171. As we close out the day. All right, that is what we got, folks. Chris will be on in a little bit. We'll get his take on the macro. This is his first time coming on in 2026. So we'll kind of get his thoughts on where the market might go this year. Some of his main picks, obviously Meta is still a big conviction for him. UNH, Adobe right there, 296, down about 2.6%. Yes, COPEX are all copper miners. It's an ETF for copper miners. And yeah, we're not going to have, I was about to say we're not going to have school on Monday. I mean, yes, we're not technically. If you're in high school, you're not going to have school on Monday, but we're not going to have the market open on Monday. I will have that market future show, though, on Monday. This is basically like school, though, right? We got to clock in every morning, 9:30. We got to deal with the good teachers and the bad teachers. The bad teachers end up going red. The good teachers makes a little bit of money. You got to do your homework to succeed in school. VG, nice little 10.5% move there. So it's basically school. We're all just students. Students of the market. It's a snow day. Yeah, exactly. Change your audience to match Mr. Beast. Oh my gosh. Freaking Mr. Beast, dude. I did not expect to see that thing yesterday. But that is what we had. Yeah, I need to buy Apple. If we're in school, we have to buy some Apple here. All right, here we go. Thank you, everybody, for being here. We'll get through some more headlines as we close out the week. Second trading week of 2026. Thank you guys again every day for being here. Friday, January 16th, 4 p.m. The stock market is once again closed. Dude, it really is like a school, right? Because there's a bell at the end of the day and at the beginning of the day. That's like legit a school. At least in my school, there was an opening bell and a closing bell. So yeah, we are in the school of the markets. NVIDIA ends out the day down about 0.5%, 186.11. Grab ends out the day down 0.23%. Palantir, nasty day, down 4%. Ondas down 5%. SoFi down 1.17%. AppLovin, an ugly 6% after a 9% day yesterday. IGV was down about 1.4. VG, I know Derek's going to be pretty happy with this, 10.49%. So you got a nice little move right there. Hopefully that can break above $9. And if so, maybe can normalize in that range, which is not too bad. BMNR ended up going green towards the end of the day, up 1%. Adobe was down 2.6. Rubrik down 2.7. I don't know all the fundamentals of Rubrik, but this price looks weird. I can't buy it because I still need to try to understand the company more in depth. But like this thing was $85 in December. So again, I don't think anything has changed for Rubrik for this one to get hit as bad. Rock Lab, 96.30. I think this is the best close ever for Rock Lab, right? This is the best close ever. Yesterday closed at 90, today at 96. So incredible day for Rock Lab. It just could not get that $100 range. Amcor right there, 48. Microsoft, 459. That ended up green. Google right on the dot at 330 was your close. Amazon, 239. Meta, 620. Ended up going red for the day and red for the week from 650 to 620. So this one's definitely taking a hit this week. CoreWeave ended up green on the day, 6.5. Iran has been a massive winner today, 11.4. I don't think there was a headline, but people piled into Iran. Maybe they're expecting a headline. Salesforce right there, that was down another 2.7%. Cloudflare was down 0.5%. Netflix was flat on the day. Lemonade was down 1%. Oscar was down 5% on some of the healthcare news. Where was our Tesla? 438, 437 on Tesla. APLD also, really nice day, 6%, broke above 37. That's not 52-week highs, or is it? No, 40 is 52-week high. No, well, yeah, basically 40 back in October. So very close. Look at that, 40 to 19, back to 37. That chart is very similar to a lot of these high beta names that just got hit pretty bad in November. Yeah, Galaxy had a great past couple days as they announced a couple more things as well. All right, that's what we got. That is what we got. Tess says she's leaving early today. Tess, have a great weekend. I will see you in a couple weeks in Joycey. And excited to show you FSD. So I'll see you when you're here in a few weeks. Where is Webull stock? We haven't looked at Webull in a minute, dude. Webull, 816. All right, so Webull's been stuck as well. Webull has been stuck as well. Novo actually had a good day, up 6, up 9. Look at that. Novo's taken a lot of the gains from some of the other compounders and compounding it into itself. 62.34. This thing fell all the way, I think, to 39 a couple of months ago. Let's pull up the stock draft. Matt's got to be well in the lead, and then we'll look at the top stocks that were traded today. Matt's at 56%. I'm at 25.6. Matt's now up 260% on Rocket Lab. ASTS, he has that as well, 176, and then SoFi 75. Epsilera started to come back. That's up 30%. We are down 70% on Duolingo, 7% on Grab, and 7% on Visa. Everything else is green. We're actually up 115% on Nebius. I forgot we have Nebius here. Steve's up 5%. Tanner's up 18%. And Chris is up 8.65%. What do you think about eToro? Dude, a lot of people have started talking about eToro I think Tanner started bringing it up more as well. I mean, their cash on hand versus their market cap is actually kind of interesting. It's like a $2.8 billion market cap. The problem is, our brokerage is going to be in favor this year, $2.6 billion market cap. And I don't know. Like, if we don't have enough trading volatility, do the brokerages get the love that they need? Wow. Did anyone trade Wolf today? How is Wolf speed ahead of Tesla in option volumes? Tesla's admit I like eToro better than Hood. You know, I've never used the product, so I actually should download it and like play around with it. But there are a lot more people thinking that this one valuation-wise makes sense. Dude, does this make any sense? People bought 2.7 million puts on Wolfspeed. This has got to be some market maker shenanigans. 1,700 calls versus 2.7 million puts. That makes no sense. I feel like that's a mistake. Then you have Tesla, Nvidia, Palantir, Micron, Apple, MicroStrategy, AMD, Intel, SMCI, Amazon, Netflix, ASTS, and Hood, Google, Iran, Ondas got in there, Microsoft, and then SoFi with your top 20 stocks of the day. Dude, Wolf makes no... I'm going to the option chain right now. Who the hell 2.7 million puts on Wolf? Trade options. Puts. This is crazy, dude. This makes no sense. I don't even know what chain it got all that momentum out of. Midwest says that was me. There's a website I use. I'll put it in the chat, but this is a website that just aggregates the top traded options every day. Dude, this makes no sense. I'm ahead of Tesla in options. That's a little aggressive. That's a little aggressive, to say the least. All right. Well, that was one of your names that got some momentum today. Wolfspeed, which I believe is a crypto miner. But I might be wrong on that. It might be something else. All right. So those were your top 20 stocks that were traded here today. APLD right there, 3740. Tesla after hours, that's flat. Palantir again, that's also flat. And then the S&P ended up flat on the day. I did not buy more Zeta today. The only thing I bought was COPX. That is it. COPX. And that's all I did for today. Again, I have a heavy position in Zeta. Like, I'm going to buy it when, you know, I really want to buy it. I don't need to DCA. I don't need to average down. Like, I have my position. It is what it is. And if I see an attractive price, I'll buy more. But again, I can't stress this enough. Like, I don't care that Zeta's down 20%. Why? Because why did it deserve to go up 20% in a week? Like, I don't think there's any fundamental reason. Yeah, they announced something with OpenAI, but like, okay, whatever. Like, is it fun for your stock to be up 20%? Sure, but we all have to be adult. It's like, it doesn't have to stay up 20%. And so I think a lot of these names that ran up like crazy, does Iran have to be 57 next week, stay 11%? No, we've seen this thing go up and down so many times. So COPX does not track the price of copper. It tracks the price of the copper ETFs combined. So it's not really that emotional. It's like, all right, I believe in it. Fundamental valuation makes sense. I will buy it if I think it gets to a good level. If not, then it is what it is. I'm already in. Why are you bullish on Zeta? Again, I did a Substack on it. Mainly is valuation, growth, far outpacing industry peers, profitability. Pretty simple thesis on valuation. And it's cheap at this level. It's cheap at 24. It's probably cheap at 28, but that doesn't mean it has to stay at those levels. Micron, that ended up 8% on the day. It's moving even more after hours. This one had an insider buy, which got a lot of people excited. And that's why that one's getting a lot more over levels. Amit, I work at HPE. We're seeing many of our suppliers request price adjustments. Dude, HPE, didn't this stock get hit? Yeah, this one got hit 2% today. I think there were some headlines around HP as well. I did not buy options on COPX, just the ETF itself. No options. My uncle likes the $100 strike for Jan 2027, but I just bought the stock itself. We want it to go up 20% every day. That would be nice. It would be very nice if we got there. Nebius, where's Nebius? This one ended at 108.73. All right, so a couple other macro charts, and then we'll keep going from there. So we did have Carney and the Chinese delegation meet. Here's what Trump had to say about Canada and China working together.
Mr. President, Prime Minister Carney is in China. How do you see the deals Canada and China have just signed, trade deals between the two partners?
Well, that's okay. That's what he should be doing. I mean, it's a good thing for him to sign a trade deal. If you can get a deal with China, you should do that.
So Trump actually, I kind of thought this would happen in the morning. Trump not being too upset about it and just saying you should get a trade deal, and it makes sense to kind of work with them to an extent. And then he said this later as well about Venezuela and the oil.
We're dealing with the new president. We're dealing with a lot of the people that were running the country. And they had, our first thing is they said, we have 50 million barrels. Hard to believe. I said, is there such a thing as 50 million barrels? 50 million barrels of oil. And we have to get it processed immediately because we have no room. Will you take it? I said, we'll take it. I didn't have to consult with anybody on that. I didn't have to call up our great attorney general. I said, we will take it. And it's the equivalent of $5.2 billion. That was the first day. And it's now traveling nicely to the United States. And
So those were the comments around Venezuela, oil, the healthcare plan. And then this, a lot of people are asking, why have we not struck Iran? Trump said today it's because they said they're going to stop the hangings.
Did Arab and Israeli officials convince you to not strike Iran?
Nobody convinced me. I convinced myself. You had yesterday scheduled over 800 hangings. They didn't hang anyone. They canceled the hangings. That had a big impact.
Did Arab?
So, and he hinted this a couple of days ago, which was that if they are going to not be as aggressive on the hangings, then he wouldn't attack. And now, did they actually not do the hangings? Honestly, I don't know. Whatever intelligence Trump has told them, they didn't do that. That was the reason why we didn't go in. But when the airspace was clearing up, it really did look like we were going to go in. And I guess we ended up not having that happen. The other big news of the day that kind of went under the radar, but OpenAI has announced it will start showing ads in ChatGPT free and Go tiers in the coming weeks. So this was the announcement that people have been thinking about for a long time, which is that ChatGPT officially would unveil advertising. Sam Altman tweeted about it today, and he said, we are starting to test ads in ChatGPT free and Go. There's a new ChatGPT Go thing, which is $8 a month, smaller than the $20 a month, which is smaller than the $200 a month Pro. Here are our principles. Most importantly, we will not accept money to influence the answer ChatGPT gives you, and we will keep your conversations private from advertisers. It is clear to us that a lot of people want to use a lot of AI and don't want to pay, so we are hopeful a business model like this can work. An example of ads I like are on Instagram, where I found stuff that I would otherwise never would have found. We will try to make ads ever more useful to users. I think he's completely lying about the stuff you type into ChatGPT not influencing the ads. I mean, like, I don't know how anyone, after living for the past decade and dealing with online ads, can believe that if you type something into ChatGPT, it will not influence the ads that you see. So I think de facto, you just have to accept that if you're not paying for ChatGPT, your conversations will be indexed in some capacity. I told the story so many times ago, but like, I will think about something and it'll pop up on Instagram. I'm like, how are they reading my thoughts? Like, there's no way this, but it's like Zuck figured it out. So you're telling me with AGI, they're not going to index what you type in. Like, there's no way. But it is. Google's going to do the same. Meta's been doing the same for years. So it's like, it's inevitable. But it will keep the product free, and it also generate them some revenue, which they kind of need because in terms of their consumer model growth, subscriptions are like 4% or even less than that of the revenue that they're collecting. So the enterprise business is growing. It's not growing as fast as Claude or Anthropic, which means, yeah, advertising is going to be important. And I guess eventually we'll get there. Is this bullish for Zeta? So people have been saying this is bullish for Zeta because of the partnership Zeta has with OpenAI. I mean, if it involves Zeta getting more first-party data or potentially being a framework for targeting inside of GEO, which is Generative Engine Optimization, then yes, I think it's bullish for them. I don't know exactly how the correlation would play out. But yeah, I would imagine this has some level of opportunities for a lot of the ad companies. I mean, this should be both for AppLovin as well. AppLovin's going to have to adapt to a lot of the GEO that's happening, and just more data from ChatGPT should hopefully provide a foundation for that. So that's what we had from ChatGPT. Is Basent live? We haven't heard from Basent in a minute. I miss Basent. He used to go live like every day. No, he's not live, but we do have a quote from him. He said, Stephen Moran can continue at the Fed past January 31st. I mean, okay, so not only is he going to be at the Fed, but Trump said that he likely wants Hassett to stay where he is. So, I mean, Hassett's probability kind of went down dramatically in prediction markets. It feels like Rick Rieder and Waller and Warsh are now the top 3 candidates, and Hassett's going to be staying at the White House. Here is Ryan Dietrich today on what he thinks the first 2 weeks played out as.
3-day weekend. It really has been. I mean, listen, it's been a good start to the year. You've just talked a lot about that, but the story of the year clearly has been the rotation, I wouldn't say away from tech, but into other stuff. And small caps done well. Now, I'll be clear, with small caps, we have seen these fits and starts before. So we're not totally sold on that, but what we are sold on, kind of like you've had most guests today talk about, it's a global bull market. There's a lot of participation. One more thing here, various advanced decline lines on the NYSE, the S&P 500 are all hitting all-time highs. Market.
Oh, I do see Basent. Let me pull over to Basent, and then we'll keep going from there.
So I COO of the sprawling organization. And part of my argument has been that it hasn't been managed well for decades.
Yes.
And the bureaucracy has taken over. It's sprawling. You've got legions of economists. You've got reserve banks. They're all over the place. A lot of kind of cross responsibilities. I'm told that at the reserve banks, 40% of the people in each building do not work for the president of the reserve bank. They report to other reserve banks. Mm. So it's there's a word for that I won't use on your show.
It needs work.
It needs work.
It needs a lot of work.
It needs some pruning. And you could make each one of these reserve banks the center of excellence. One could be for payments. One could be for St. Louis that does great economic research. You could do that, but it does need a thorough overhaul. And again, like I said, I've been calling for an internal investigation or an internal review of all this. So perhaps this will push that idea along.
So there's no telling. One cannot assume that this subpoena given to Jay Powell and the Fed will be removed. We don't know that yet. We just don't. You're saying we don't know that. Well, it's not a yes and it's not a no.
Yeah, Larry, I can't comment because I haven't seen it. I haven't spoken to Janine. So,
do you think that in view of what Mr. Trump has said about Kevin Hassett and yourself and Kevin Warsh, does this make Kevin Warsh the odds-on favorite to be the next chair?
Again, we'll see. That President Trump hasn't shared his thoughts with me. What I can tell you is he's been very deliberate. He has asked exactly the questions that I think you and I and the markets would want to ask. Who can bring the board along with them? Who has the gravitas? Everything you would want done. Who can bring some order to this sprawling institution is one of the things he's looking forward to. And also, as you said in your riff just then, who is going to have an open Greenspan-like mind that we could be going through a productivity boom like we did in the 90s and not just throw the brakes on things because they're alarmed by a high GDP number. Yeah. It's that I agree with you. I think GDP is going to surprise on the upside, but the important thing is it's going to be non-inflationary, disinflationary growth back to the 90s, and we could have kind of a 7-8% nominal GDP number.
I know. Real growth could be 5 or 6%. Okay, just one last question. Now I want to get back to the economy and tariffs and IEEPA and so forth. Are you concerned that if this whole I'm going to call it a legal matter with Jay Powell, whatever. If it's not settled, his term as chair will end in May, but he will stay on as a member of the board. which would be, I would think you would agree, would be not optimal.
Well, look,
You have to get that done.
I think it was about 18 months ago, I came out with this idea of a shadow Fed chair that the president would have nominated someone back in August, September. I got pilloried in the media, the press. I said no mas. So I think on the backside, it would also be a good idea not to have a shadow Fed chair by someone who has stayed on, because that's happened, and it'll be Chair Powell's decision. I believe that the candidate who President Trump nominates will be confirmed quickly. I think it will be someone who is substantial, who cares about the integrity of the Fed, but cares about the dual mandate and
comes to a census.
Markets will respect, and world leaders will respect. And when we talk about what happened with these subpoenas, you know what? I was wrong. Markets didn't care. Markets went up.
I know they did.
The bond market, the
dollar went up. Bond rates went down.
Bond rates went down. Stock market went up, and the MOVE index, which measures bond market volatility, is at a multi-year low now. Multi-year low. So markets were unfazed by it.
Strongest economy.
All right. So you got Besant pretty bullish on whoever the next Fed chair is going to be. And I don't know, they should be making an announcement soon. He has to be there by May, and it's 2 weeks left of January. So I would imagine either in the next 2 weeks or early February, we're going to get an answer on who it ends up becoming. All right, folks, let's bring someone onto the show for their first appearance of 2026. Get their thoughts on what they think is going to happen throughout the year, some of their major convictions, and overall strategy based on the first 2 weeks of the year. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Chris Patel.
You should just call me Mr. Gonna Underperform 2026. I already know it's going to be Chris Underperforms 2026 because
2 weeks in, you're losing confidence for the year?
Well, yeah, because y'all are up like 40, 50% on most of your positions. That's why. I mean,
Well,
not
I'm
Palantir.
not
Not Palantir.
Not Palantir, not Hood, not NVIDIA. Dude, I mean, a lot of the high, I'm not in super high beta names. Those are the names.
Oh, you're not? Yeah.
No,
Okay.
I'm not in Bloom Energy. I wish I was in Bloom Energy.
Yeah.
Well, let's just get right into that conversation, dude. Like, what do you think about the high beta names that have, I mean, massively outperformed? I mean, you got a Rocket Lab that's doing well, but you got an ASTS, you got a Bloom Energy, you got an Ondas, you got an Oklo, you got these random $100 million companies that have turned into $1 billion companies. NVIDIA has not worked. Meta's not worked. Amazon's not worked. How are you thinking of what has worked so far? And do you even think any of this is real over the past 2 weeks?
I mean, it's real when it shows up in your portfolio as a giant green candle, right? And that's all that really matters. I just think right now people are rotating into thematics, right? So when they see a certain theme come up, they're really leaning heavily into it. So the theme investors are doing extremely well right now, right? So as an example, you've got defense stocks. A lot of the defense stocks are, there's this anticipation that just defense is going to get a lot more traction with business. And even like European defense stocks have really outperformed the market. So those are getting crazy levels of bidding. You've got, of course, the space stocks, in anticipation of the SpaceX IPO. So there's like a lot of like, how do I say it? Adjacency bias to it. So saying, look, if SpaceX IPOs at X amount of dollars, these other companies that are in that specific industry, they should be rising as well. And the thing is, from a business use case, they're not exactly making a lot of money, right? But once again, it just comes down to, hey, we're going to invest in what we think is going to be the next big thing, rather than looking at the big things that are currently out there right now. So like no one can deny that NVIDIA is going to do exceptionally well when it comes to this AI trade, right? They have like literally 2 to 3 years worth of future growth already kind of baked in. But I don't know if you remember did you ever watch Silicon Valley?
Yeah, a while ago.
Yeah, you remember when Russ Hanneman comes out and what's his name? The CEO of Piper wants to start monetizing, and he's like, what are you doing? No, we're not going to monetize, because if you start monetizing, people will realize that you're not exactly a 20xer. You might be like the 2x 3x dog shit company.
You want to be selling the dream over actually make money.
Exactly. Exactly. So a lot of these companies, they're really out there selling the dream. And to be fair, they could work out and they could work out really, really well, right? So if you look at a company like ASTS, there is a projected revenue that they're supposed to be generating in the future. And because they have such strong counterparties and things like Verizon and AT&T and all these other MNO partners, they've actually got a business model together that could work. Now, whether or not that actually translates to consumer demand is still something to be, to be left to be seen. So we'll see that. Oklo is in the same position where you've got counterparties like Meta investing with them. So even though they don't technically have a single reactor functional, the fact that there is a mega cap company who does have their shit together investing in a partnership gives people that confidence to say, look, this thing could become something big. Same thing with all the data center companies that have been really riding up as well, right? Some of the data centers, if you look at them on purely on a fundamental basis on their balance sheet and cash flow, they're not exactly the most attractive companies in the S&P, but everyone is anticipating that continuous demand. That's why you see Nebius. Nebius got a huge upward move from the $20 to now almost $100 something. And a lot of the revenues and everything else, I mean, this one at least has some functional business value behind it, but they're capturing that imagination, that dream. And so people that are looking out 2, 3, 4, 5 years, they're looking at these opportunities to say, I'm getting in on the ground floor of the next AWS. Like that's the mentality. And so right now the fundamentals mean nothing to them. And so
but do you think the fundamentals will like ASTS trades at 2,000 times sales, but the narrative is really good and the counterparties you mentioned, does that eventually bite them in the ass, or does the party keep going?
Well, see, that's the thing. That's one of those things that, it's kind of like this make it or break it thing. So we'll know whether these people were right in 5 years from now, right? In 5 years, we'll know, like, oh, is ASTS actually worth what they're saying they're worth, because their cash flows have to make that change. So we're kind of in the proof, like, eventually we'll transition from the current stage of dreaming to, hey, I need to see this actual performance, right? And so the challenge that you run into with companies like ASTS, Rocket Lab, and everyone else is that if they fall short of those expectations, then they're going to take a real nasty tumble down, right? So you remember, like during 2021, we had a very similar phenomenon where you had all of these companies that were coming out and saying, we have this crazy product that's going to revolutionize X, Y, and Z. And then when the reality of the market actually came, not many of them could live up to that dream and that hype. And eventually they were re-rated down. I mean, you remember Rivian? Rivian was a real product. It was actually a real car. Everyone's expectations got super inflated. And then once Rivian's timetable came out, like how much they could do, people realized that this is not the Tesla killer everyone thought it was.
But the difference is now all these names are tied to AI in some way. So if you believe NVIDIA's 40% growth for the next couple of years, it'll probably trickle down to all these other stocks, right?
Some, I think some maybe, but others are completely like not really. I wouldn't say that they're specific AI companies. Like I don't see Rocket Lab as an AI company. I mean, I'm sure that's a part of their infrastructure will support the AI build out, because of the telecommunications feature that they're supposed to be launching eventually with a constellation and everything. But for the most part, that's not. It's the narrative driver for Rocket Lab. ASTS is not that. For Ondas, it's a drone maker. I'm sure that there's AI components in there, but for the most part, it's probably not like, oh, this is an AI focused thing. I think the AI theme right now has kind of graduated from the dreaming stage to the show me stage. So right now you're starting to see a lot of these software companies that touted themselves being AI first. And what are they doing right now? They're getting destroyed, right? The other major issue is that everyone is looking at something like Claude and have really written down software moat as a valuation factor. So a lot of people are saying, well, Claude can do X, Y, and Z. Why do I need to have a seat-based licensing system with this one specific, software company, right? Why can't I get like a consultant to create a customized software platform for my business, and I don't need to rely on the off the shelf product from ServiceNow or from Adobe or from a lot of other things. So I think the valuations are being reset, where people are saying software multiples, we don't want to pay extra high software multiples. So all those software multiples are coming down significantly now. Now, I do think that the market is making a bit of a mistake, to be honest with you, when it comes to that. I think a lot of these software companies, well, because the software companies have like inbuilt like enterprise level moats that enterprises are not like, oh yeah, I'm going to switch tomorrow, right? The other thing is there's something to be said about having an entire workforce locked in, and then when you try to like create too much of a customized solution, the cost of a customized solution could be extraordinarily high. So I think it's going to really depend on specific use cases. Like I don't see a lot of people saying, yeah, I'm going to get rid of my Salesforce, subscription to develop my own AI-based CRM that I'm going to have custom coded for me. I mean, are there going to be businesses in the small to medium term that probably end up going that route? Maybe. But as far as I can tell, Salesforce, ServiceNow, all of these guys are here to stay. The one thing I will say is that I think it does diminish certain pricing dynamics where these guys were purely basing their growth models on selling more seats. And I think in the world of agentic AI, you may not need as many people to have those seats, where you can just get like, instead of 4 people doing one task, if you got one person doing it and they're utilizing AI and they're using really well, you don't need 4 seats. You just need 1, right? And so even if there's a level of growth coming in from organic sources, right? That organic, like new businesses and everything else, there's an inorganic price increase that may or may not materialize. So I think that's where the challenge is. So CIOs won't shift to in-house software solutions built by AI because they are on the hook for issues, bugs, and downtimes. Absolutely. If you're a large enough, like large enough organization, you can't deal with all the fallouts of that. So I agree with you, but it doesn't mean that businesses will not try to at least reduce down the number of seats that they have, because they can actually get more output out of one person that they used to have 4 people doing. So that slowdown in seats may end up, that business model may end up proving out to be not as great in terms of growth. So a lot of these companies are going to get valued not necessarily as growth anymore. They're going to be valued somewhere between growth and value. You know what I mean? Like, does that make sense? Like, you're not looking, I don't think I'll ever see Adobe selling at a 10 PE. I just don't, because they just generate so much free cash flow and they buy back so many shares. But I do see it getting to a 15 PE, which is not far from where it is today.
Yeah, it's at a 17 PE.
Right. That's what I'm saying. That at some point, the value proposition of Adobe and all of these guys makes it very, very, very attractive, especially because they generate so much free cash flow and they can buy back their shares at such a brisk pace that it does provide some valuation cushion on how much multiples can actually compress. But then again, remember, this is also dependent on what the market is willing to give, right? So if the general market believes that there's no value in these companies, then there's really no floor, right? They could say that maybe Salesforce is the next typewriter,
We do have a rumor after hours, TII potentially to be acquired by NVIDIA. The stock is up 50% after hours. Titan Mining. It's a $372 million company. It's at 650 after hours. More data center infrastructure, I guess, potentially, if NVIDIA acquires.
I mean, NVIDIA is just, how do I even, NVIDIA?
That would be my next question. Why do you think NVIDIA is stuck so far this year?
Well, a couple of things. NVIDIA is getting to the point right now where the growth is already pre-baked into the price, right? So everyone kind of knows what their growth is going to be for the next couple of years. So then it becomes, okay, well, what happens after that? What if NVIDIA's growth slows down to 20%? I mean, look, it's the law of big numbers. No one can afford to, speculate on, can they grow 50% year over year for the next 5 years? I don't think that's possible, just because there's a limitation on how much money there's on the planet right now. So it definitely has to diversify its business lines so that it's not purely dependent on GPU sales. But then you also now have all the news around Google with its TPUs. You have Broadcom and it's all these ASICs. So the question then becomes, well, even if everyone is still reliant, dominant, like, has a huge amount of demand for GPUs, people are looking for alternatives to try to like cost rationalize their operations. Because I mean, I would give the perfect example is look at OpenAI today starting to launch ads, right? Like why is OpenAI doing that? Well, the reason why is because they figured they need money. If they don't generate money and cash flow, they're not going to be able to do what they need to do, right? And so you can see that at some point the unit economics of AI have to start making sense. Google is going to be in the same boat soon enough, where they're spending so much money on AI and Gemini and everything. And I know that a part of their business model with search is going to pay for that build out. And I don't know about you, maybe you can elaborate. I don't Google nearly as much as I used to. I'm so reliant on Gemini. I just type in Gemini, I want to do this, and it gives me all this stuff.
Do you think Google's overvalued?
I don't think it's overvalued, but I don't think it's undervalued anymore. At last year, they were undervalued the entire time. I was screaming at the top of my lungs that, yo, everyone is ignoring Google. Do that shit at your own risk. But Google is undervalued. It is one of the best plays in the market. But I think at 300 something, I think Google is more fair value. So if you buy Google, I don't think you'll underperform the market, but I don't think you'll overperform the market by much. I think at some point you'll basically perform the market, which is like, depending on what kind of return you're looking for, probably maybe 7 to 15%, somewhere between there, depending on how the rest of the market is.
So the large caps are out of favor right now. You're saying a lot of the growth is priced in. Expectations.
Large cap tech. There's other parts of large cap that are doing exceptionally well right now. So look at GE Vernova, the industrials. The industrials have been catching bids, right? Because people are seeing that this AI data center build out is going to require a lot of other industries to kind of have these inputs in there. So you look at GE Vernova for the last year, or even last 6 months versus NVIDIA, right? Yeah, so people are playing the investing game that way. So just bring it up.
Yeah, the industrials index fund from Vanguard, it's up 7% for the year.
Yeah. So when you see something like this, it makes you think like, wait a second, like, are we positioned correctly? Like, yes, NVIDIA is definitely the winner of AI for now. But is there really a lot more juice left on NVIDIA? And so people are kind of rotating. So I think people even rotated to some degree their capital allocations away from NVIDIA and into the RAM, the memory guys. Like, look at Micron.
I was going to ask about that. I mean, you had a director buy 8 million of Micron yesterday. I know the stock's up 50%, but like, do you think that's a place to touch, or you can't stomach it?
I am not, one of the things I realized over the last couple of years, and I think I am out of my depth when it comes to the technology portion. I said this to Sam. I said one of my blind spots when it comes to investing is that I'm never fast enough to recognize the trend before it runs. So asking that question to someone like me probably is not going to give you a great answer, and it's going to be sort of limiting. I think questions like that should be directed to someone like Jose, who actually do the fundamental research on the technology portion to see like what is the possibility of future demand in RAM. Like, so from me, I'm purely looking at this and from what I'm reading. Okay, not that I have any critical understanding of this technology, but from my reading, yes, there's currently a bottleneck in memory supplies, but NVIDIA is eventually going to kind of enter the market and maybe start to have their own memory supply, in which case they don't want to be responsible for paying these guys. They're going to try to cut them out in order to grow. So there could be something to say that, there could be future competition. The other thing I do know about the memory market is that they tend to be very cyclical, right? So that cyclicality is something that people and investors have to keep their eye on. because if you look at the chart of Micron over the last, just look at the chart of Micron, pull that up for the last like 20 years. You'll see this flow up and down, and I'm not their stock price, but their revenue, their revenue. Do you have Fiscal AI?
No, you pull up your Fiscal AI.
Okay, yeah,
you and Tanner, you guys love this Fiscal AI thing,
dude. It really helps visualize certain things and certain characteristics and like a business. And
but the stock price also is kind of cyclical, as we can see right here.
Yeah.
Many. Yeah, 2000 it popped up to 88, lows of 7 in 2003, popped up to 16 2006, lows of 4 2009, popped up to 30. Yeah, I mean, but these are a lot of semiconductor stocks.
Yeah,
I think that's the biggest fear is like, when is this all over? If it is.
Yeah, and this is, like I said, this is something you probably ask someone like Jose to say, look, what is the unique factor in Micron that makes it a durable investment for the long haul, So yeah, let me just go back. So you can see here, you've got these waves where things kind of come down and then it goes up again all of a sudden because memory is important, and then it kind of comes down again, and then it rides up again, and now it's going down, and now it's inflecting higher again, and then at some point this thing goes the other direction. I don't know. See, so when you have a business like this, it's kind of like, what part of the musical game of chairs am I in? Because at any point this could start trending in the other direction, right? And then what happens is the entire business kind of resets. Yeah.
You're still long Nvidia though. You think that one plays out?
Yeah, I think Nvidia is a secular growth story. I don't think, like, the fact that they've given you already a timeline and shown you that they're going to have multiple years of continuous growth. And not to mention Nvidia, what I really like is Jensen is starting to diversify into other AI segments that could generate significantly more return for shareholders, other than just relying on its cyclical core business, right? So one of the things with Nvidia, and you've seen it, is that they're making all of these micro investments all over the place. This is like taking a page out of Google, right? Look at Google, what Google has been able to do, where they've been able to kind of use some of their free cash flow to invest in companies like SpaceX. And that money has gone up tremendously. It was able to take money and invest in Waymo. That's gone up tremendously, So I think Nvidia is trying to escape the cyclicality of the semiconductor industry. And I think at some point they will get there. Majority of their revenue and profits right now and multiple is coming from the growth of their GPUs, but that free cash flow that they're able to get from those sales, they've been able to kind of redeploy them in other things. And that's why we see this whole thing with the company that they just invested in, right? Grok. It's also why they invested in Grok. It's, Jensen is a very smart guy. I don't see Nvidia taking a tumble, like, back down by any means in the next, like, at least year or two, because like I said, the growth is there. Everyone kind of already sees it. And the sheer level of buybacks this company is doing is insane. So, I think we're still sort of early in this AI theme. Do I think that there's periods where we're going to see some rotation out of the clear winner and into the probable winners? Yeah. But I also think eventually people are going to say, well, maybe I don't want to be in the probable winner. I want to be in the actual winner, and go rotate right back into Nvidia, and they'll be paying a higher price for it.
Do you think high beta will rotate into large caps eventually? Because what if it doesn't this whole year? What if the S&P just underperforms small caps this year?
It doesn't matter. I mean, we have to be very specific. We can't say small caps because there's small cap and mid cap tech, right? And then there's large cap tech and mega cap tech. I think mega cap tech is our generation's blue chip stocks. Like, you're not going to go wrong buying Meta. You're not going to go wrong buying Amazon. You're not going to go wrong buying Google, right? Even if you were to pay a high premium for any of those companies, that they have a business model that guarantees them at least a certain level of growth. That they're buying back shares. Some of them are even paying dividends now. So I think our generations of blue chip stocks, like back in the day, the blue chip stocks were the GEs and the Siemens and the Coca-Colas of the world, right? Our generation, it's completely flipped. our generation, the blue chip stocks are Google, Amazon, Meta, and Microsoft. So I think there's an inbuilt safety that's there for the Mag 7 that I think eventually people are going to say, I don't want to be in the speculative parts of the market anymore in technology. And I'm going to rotate into the non-speculative part, which is of course, the Googles, the Microsoft, Amazons of the world, and Metas and so on and so forth.
What do you think is happening with silver? I mean, do you think this is just becoming a bigger bubble, or it's normalizing at new prices?
Silver, gold, all the precious metals are in a very weird dynamic right now because there's conflicting reports from all over the place, right? So if you ask some of the people in the silver industry, they're saying, oh, there's going to be a short squeeze on silver because there hasn't been enough investment in physical silver, and most of the trading that's done on silver is just BS paper. And so everyone is speculating that, hey, if I just buy all the physical silver, I'm gonna beat the street. And so you're starting to see kind of runs in China, even in the US, where people are just like, I need to stack silver. The other thing is there's fear of out of control inflation and fiat depreciation, right? So people are looking at it and saying, I need to place my money in a safe place. And some people say, you know what, precious metals is a scarce resource, is a scarce product. Silver in particular is a little bit interesting because silver has a lot of industrial use cases. So you kind of have this wave of people thinking, well, if we are growing if industrials are growing because of all this demand from AI and data centers and everything else, then that means that silver is going to catch a bid, right? Yeah. You have this kind of similar situation happening with copper, even though copper is not really a precious metal. Yeah. But everyone is saying, look, electrical cars, data centers, GPUs, everything requires healthy amounts of copper. So there's going to be a future deficit of copper. Let me buy into it. And so that kind of feeds into that narrative. And so people are going to speculate. They're going to jump into it and they're going to buy up as much of the commodity, and then the commodity price goes up. The problem is if, let's say, the demand picture doesn't necessarily translate and it doesn't sustainably translate, because let's say the AI data center build out starts to slow down. Now, all of a sudden people say, oh, wait, maybe there isn't actually a shortage of copper. Oh my God, I don't need to have all this copper. It doesn't generate me any real return. And then people start selling it. And then that's why you see, that's the thing with commodities. You have these commodity cycles where things go up, things go down, things go sideways, things go down again,
But okay, so I agree. Now, the people that I've heard talk about commodities, they are saying this is a 20-year cycle. They are saying this isn't just listen to the cold open right here on the Compound and Friends. I mean, they are really saying this.
Bro, they're going to sell their book. They're going to sell their book. What do you want? Go ahead. I'll listen to it.
Commodity rally.
Dude, I said gold 5,000. People thought I was fucking crazy.
No, but even like last summer, commodities had been rallying, but not like this. And they just exploded starting the first of the year. It was like a brand new bull market just started for a lot of them.
And here's the interesting part about commodities is that historically, these bull markets don't just last a few quarters or a few years. They last 10, 20.
Yeah.
So if you're betting this is over, then you're betting that this is the shortest commodity super cycle ever.
Who's your boy that did the chart?
I mean,
listen, when things go right, everyone comes out and says, look at me, I'm a genius. Even the way that he was like drinking, like, yeah, man, I'm so smart. I've been investing in copper for 20 years. I knew this was going to happen. It's like, okay, you figured it out 20 years ahead of time. But
if the data center stuff and the electric vehicles and all the stuff that needs these precious metals continues to gain momentum, unless that is cyclical, which I guess eventually it is, there should be some years attached to this versus months. I don't know if it's 20 years.
Sure. And that's the thing with these cycles, right? No one can accurately predict how long they're going to last. I mean, some people are going to say they last 20 years. I don't know. They find a couple. One of the things that always people have to remember is, do you know what the cure to high prices is?
The cure to high prices? Increased supply?
No, it's high prices. That's it. Because the higher the price of the commodity, the more likely it is that people say, you know what? That mine over there? you know that mine over there? Let's open that shit again. You know?
Yeah.
Oh, you know what? Let's do more exploration of silver mines. Let's open that. So usually the economics, when they start making sense, like there are silver mines out there that quote unquote had run dry. But the reason why they ran dry is because it didn't make sense economically to go dig for that silver because the grade of the ore was not that good, right? So they said, you know what? Leave it. We don't need it. And what happens? The price of silver goes up. People are going and saying, oh, remember that mine over there that has low grade silver? We can go mine it and still make a profit. And it's the same thing with gold. Like, if you do you ever watch that show from Alaska? Help me out, chat. There's a Discovery Channel. It's on the Discovery Channel. The one with like the gold miners. Where what is it called?
Alaska. Oh, Gold Rush.
Yeah, Gold Rush. Right. So if you watch Gold,
great show.
Yeah, if you watch Gold Rush, people are looking at this current gold and they're literally just flakes, right? 50 years ago, people were like looking at this like, this is not enough gold to make sense. Like, this is wasting time here. But now all of a sudden, because the price of gold has gone up so much, people are out there digging as much gold as possible. So that's what typically happens with
you know what our boy Steve is doing, right?
No, he's going around New York City collecting coins and
quarters to try to find the ones from 1964 to then get the silver. Like is
he really doing that?
No, he's like legit. He's next Friday. People are going to see a stream of him going through quarters.
Jeez, man.
Like our boy is in this commodity super cycle rush at this point.
Yeah, I mean, he sent me a picture of his collection of coins and stuff. I mean, Steve, you know.
Okay, so you think the commodity cycle can still go, but it's hard to time it. Large caps are still holding on. High beta is getting momentum. Let's talk about what Trump's been doing. A lot of policies he's throwing at the wall. What is your general take on all these different ideas? I mean, now there's a healthcare plan, which I don't know if you can easily get that passed. And then specifically the credit card stuff. Maybe you can start with that. Do you think that has a chance to get passed?
Before that, I think the first thing we need to understand is what is the motivation and the impetus to implement a lot of these policies. For me, I think it's very clear. He does not want to lose the midterms. His entire policy agenda for the next year is, how do I best position myself and my political party to win the midterm elections? Because the last thing he wants is to be in a position where the Democrats take control of the House, and then you've got impeachment hearings all over again, and then another 2 years of dealing with that BS. So, in my opinion, he's gone full on whatever I have to do to get people to vote Republican in the midterm, I will do it, even if it's a giant policy reversal. So here's an example. Do you know that today they reversed the decision to go after delinquent student loan borrowers?
I didn't see that headline. Did they?
Yes, sir. It just came out.
Because that makes sense, because obviously, right? Yeah.
Right. Then you have all these people, they're looking at their health insurance prices. What do? You target the health insurance industry because everyone hates health insurance companies, right? Mm-hmm. Who wants to pay health insurance premiums? So he is right now doing everything possible to kind of make it so that it's almost like I'm the president of the people, right? And so every policy is going to have that. Another thing is that 10% credit card thing. Right now, if you have $20,000, $30,000 in credit card debt, and someone comes to you and says, listen, I want to reduce down your credit card payment from 22% APR to 10%, your first thing is not, I don't think this guy is going to be able to not do it. Your first thing is, man, I'm going to vote for this guy because he's going to lower my monthly things, right? Whether or not he can deliver is a completely different thing. Yeah. That's what all politicians do. All politicians, they're going to promise the world because they know that once the election is over, whether you can deliver or not is kind of like a secondary thing. So
did you hear what Hassett said about the credit cards today?
No, I didn't.
Hassett said we're working with banks to create Trump cards that have a 10% APR. that was my reaction. Like that, and that was, he said explicitly, he was like, we can sidestep Congress by making new cards.
Yeah, which, it's a very right. Good. So this is something that's very weird in that if it wasn't for this sort of like policy move, I think the banks would be rallying really hard right now. Because one of the things that we've been seeing is the steepening of the yield curve, right? And I think that's being underappreciated significantly. So let me just kind of share my screen. Can you share that? Hold on. Let me do the entire screen. Okay, there we go. So this right here is the yield curve, the difference between the 10-year treasury and the 2-year treasury, right? So 2-year treasury is short-term in nature. 10-year treasury is the longer out, right? So if you borrow money for 10 years, you're going to have to pay higher premium, higher interest than if you were to borrow short. Banks make money in a similar way where you take your money, you put it into the bank as a deposit. They take that money and they lend it out long to other, to other people. They lend it out to, businesses. They lend it out to other institutions, and they make money between the two spreads. So usually banks, that is how their margins tend to work. So that's why your net interest income determines that. So if you look at something like SoFi, right? SoFi's net interest income is growing over time because it's got all these people making deposits into SoFi. It's giving people, of course, some of that interest, but for the majority of it, they're giving that out in loans. And they're doing it via personal loans that have like APRs between 9, 10, I think it's at sometimes even 15%. And so if you are giving your consumer, like your depositor, let's say 3, 4%, but then you're on the other end, you're collecting a 9, 10%, that's a huge spread where all you're really doing as the middleman is just managing that relationship between the two parties, right? So that's how the banking system works. Now, there are times where you're going to have inversions where the cost to borrow long term is actually less than the cost to borrow short term, and we kind of had that happen here in 2022 where the Fed was raising interest rates really fast. So long-term rates, they didn't spike up because they were anticipating, quote unquote, what is it called? Transitory. Well, that didn't play out. And instead, we ended up going in the other direction where eventually the long bond kind of just like stayed there. And so now if you look at the 10-year treasury, the 10-year treasury is sitting at 4%, even with the number of cuts that have been happening on the Fed side.
It's been spiking too, which is not what we want to see here.
Yeah.
As the highest has been in a couple months at this point.
Yeah, it's almost 4.23, right? But if you look at the 2-year, let me just bring up the 2-year treasury. You can see it's 3.56. And look at that, how it's declined from almost 4.36 to now this right here. Even that's spiking a little bit, but you can see that majority of it's actually come down. So this is where you kind of have to like figure out which industries are going to benefit from this. And in my opinion, one of the things that I'm seeing just the equity markets have ripped higher. The valuation in the equity markets is pretty high, though there is enough growth to kind of support those valuations. So for me, I'm just being a little bit more cautious this year, and I'm deriving more of my portfolio and putting it towards like fixed income, right? And those fixed income items are important because they kind of give me a lot more peace of mind. So I've accepted that I'm going to underperform the general market if it rips, but I'm also not taking nearly as much risk, right? So, I mean, if you look at all JP Morgan, all these guys, they have an S&P 500 target of, I think, like 7,700, right? S&P target. So right now, the S&P target,
it's 10% higher. Like, it's not crazy.
Right. So it's 10%. I was gonna bring up the chart, but yeah, if it's 10% higher and you can get a yield of about 7 to 10% with a fixed income instrument, why even bother taking the risk?
Well, are you worried that rate cuts could mess up that yield?
I think there could be a black swan event sometime this year that could have a healthy 10 to maybe even a 15% market correction like we had in Liberation Day, in which case then what I could do is liquidate some of that fixed income and actually end up buying the dip, right? So right now I'm I'm utilizing a more delayed gratification investing style where I'm just like looking at the markets. There are certain areas that are just certain companies that are just ripping higher. And my goal, at least for the next little bit for this year, is going to be just as much capital preservation as possible. Right. So right now, if I can get a good amount of capital on the side, and that's generating me some meaningful return, then I can strike hard when the market does correct.
Yeah, and I don't think that's crazy. It's like if you're taking less risk, you have a decent chunk of capital that's generating a yield, and then we do get a correction. This chart I thought was really interesting. 26% of all years since 2028, we've had a 20% correction. 63% is of years 10%, and then 94% 5%. So we will get a 5% correction for sure, probably a 10%. Question is if we get that 10 to 15, and if we do, and Meta sitting at like 490 or so, that's going to be a really exciting dip by.
Yeah. And the thing is, what tends to happen is when you have these general market corrections, great companies get oversold. And I think that's like the opportunity to just really load up. I mean, we did that during Liberation Day, which really played out well.
What would be the catalyst for something like that? Because I've been trying to play out the scenarios. Unless it's Trump doing Liberation Day again, right? But he wouldn't do that before the midterms. So like, what is the thing?
Well, that's the thing. This is where we run into this investing game, right? Where it's all about risk now. It's much easier to put money towards risk when like the general market is trading at, let's say, a 15 PE. But when the general market's trading at like a 25 PE, not as much, And then at the same time, if you look at on the CAPE ratio, it's super high. So a lot of this stuff it's all about risk management, right? Like we've had really strong 2.5, 3 years with double-digit gains for the last 3. So I do think that there is something that could pull us back. I just don't know what it is. I mean, it could be a geopolitical move. I mean, to be honest, if I had to make a guess, I'm not saying it's probably going to happen, but if I had to make a guess, I'd say it would be something to do with China. I feel like we're causing a lot more friction with the Chinese, right? And if something happens along with China, then we got a problem, right? Like let's say China invades Taiwan, right? Or China has some kind of like kinetic problem with like a U.S. Navy destroyer, then like the general market is just going to get spooked. Let's say, I don't know, the AI trade, like one of the major data center companies goes out of business or something, and people are just like, oh my God, the AI trade is wrong. Like we all need to get out. So you never know what the catalyst is for these market downturns, but you can at least have enough foresight to say, I need to take risk off the table.
What about Greenland? You think Trump actually invades?
No. Dude, that's such a stupid thing, man. It is. I didn't understand the Greenland thing, and I think it's still this day. I still think it's a problem. By the way, Japan. We forgot about Japan. We could have an issue with Japan. Japan has been a prolific buyer of our treasuries, and their inflation has been sticky, and their government debt has been going in the other direction. So a lot of those Japanese insurance companies and banks that were originally buying U.S. treasuries, they're not buying U.S. treasuries anymore. They're buying their own currency. They're buying their own JGBs. So the demand for U.S. treasuries is starting to decline. So at some point we could see that. There's another place where certain large commercial real estate companies, REITs, they could go out of business, and that could end up causing a cascade of events. I mean, you remember what happened with SVB, right? There are still banks out there that have exposure to commercial real estate. So if there's any sort of issues around credit kind of like stopping for whatever reason, then we could have a mini crash, mini correction, whatever. So at that point, we're all going to have to sit there and just say, is this the big one, or is this just a Liberation Day snafu? In my opinion, it's probably going to be a Liberation Day snafu because the president will probably install a Fed chair who is going to use the time and true method of of reversing things. You know what it is? Anytime anything bad happens, just throw money at the problem. Just throw a shit ton of money at the problem. Deficits, who cares? Just throw money at it. You know.
Do you think the Supreme Court will go against them or no?
I don't know.
Because I think he's really scared about this. And I think that's also why he's throwing out all these policy proposals.
I don't know, man. It's anyone's guess, dude. You know, it's like they've delayed it twice already. And I think the next time they're supposed to rule on it is in June.
Jan 20. No. Well, they said they might. Cactus, they said Jan 20 today, I think. And then after that, maybe it's June.
Yeah. See, I think that Julie actually says it nicely. Problem is, we won't know the catalyst until we're deep in it. I mean, that's always the case. I mean, who could have guessed that the housing market was going to collapse in 2008? Like, until it started to happen, you know, people were lost. I mean, no one here is Nostradamus. If you are, please let me know. I'd love to pick your brain, but you know.
What do you think about BM&R?
I'll be honest, I haven't been looking at BM&R, man. You know, I sold out of it. I took my tax loss and I was like, okay, I'm gonna buy back into BM&R. I haven't got back into it yet. You know,
did you
no, it hasn't been the 30 days yet.
But did you hear about the Mr. Beast and the?
I did hear that he's Tom is gonna make a $200 million investment in Beast Bank. I didn't go that far after that. I've been more focused on fixed income and some opportunities with the yield curve steepening. I think that is where I'm looking. I'm also trying to gauge the health of the consumer with this K-shaped economy. Like, how long can the economy last with usually the top 10 to 20% of people doing majority of the spending, right? Or the growth in spending. So yeah, I think that's where my key focus is this year. If the market does correct, I do think that we could get a recession, because so much of that upper 10% of the population, their net worth is tied directly to the stock market. If you get a 15 to 20% correction, a lot of people may end up pulling back from that additional spending. And if they pull back from that additional spending, it kind of reinforces a recession and that recessionary tailwind. Though I do think that the administration, because it is an election year, would be a lot less likely to just sit back and let things sort of self-correct, even if it did help their goal of getting inflation down. Because recessions, of course, whenever you have a recession, you're going to get massive amounts of deflation. So, and if that happens, then, it kind of solves the issue with rate cuts for the administration. So there's one thing that we should watch, though, if you have a minute.
Real quick, before we watch this, what are the fixed income plays you're going after? Are they stocks or preferred equities or?
Some ETFs, like some diversified bond funds that, so the way that they work is that some of them are like closed end funds. Like what's his name? Steve was mentioning them to me. So I was actually talking to him about it. Like, I'm about to make some major purchases this year. And one of the things I want to do is I want to lock in some fixed returns so that I can pay for this stuff. So I'll give you an example. I'm trying to think of some good ones. I don't want to try to bring out like the boring stuff like Verizon. Like, everyone's looking at me, oh, Verizon, here it goes again with Verizon. But Verizon right now is a 7% yield. They're gonna do well. But there are other bond funds that do use certain leverage where what they do is they go out there, they invest in certain assets and fixed income products that they get a certain yield from. But what they do is they do use something called repurchase agreements to leverage those and basically borrow short. So imagine right now, if you were buying a fixed income security that's generating a 7% yield, right? You take that 7% yielding fixed income instrument, and then what you end up doing is going to the bank and saying, I will pledge this as collateral for you to lend to me at, let's say right now, like 2% or 3%, whatever the SOFR rate is, right? And they give you the money, you will go out there and you buy more of that 7% yielder. And so you make money on the spread, right? So there are closed-end funds that have that mechanism whereby whereby their business model actually improves. So some of them, because of that inverted yield curve, they took a giant nosedive, and because they took a giant nosedive, their net asset values started to actually compress and started to shrink. But with this whole thing happening, with the steepening of the yield curve, those specific products are actually going to see NAV expansion, right? And then also with NAV expansion, if we see their rate cuts starting to come in, people may start to like look for different instruments to put their money in to get that yield. So as an example, if you can get 5% on a US Treasury, a short duration Treasury, you're not exactly going to go out there looking for yield, right? But let's say interest rates get cut by the Fed and interest rates go down to 2%, your entire like business does not work on 2%. You need at least 5 to 7%. So you're more likely to go there and buy some of these other close-end funds. And if they buy those close-end funds, there's a premium that they pay on top of their NAV, so their net asset value, that then actually comes up. So you've got two systems at work. You've got borrowing costs go down, and then you've got expansion of NAV, and then the triple thing is you get premium go up on that specific asset. So that's where I'm looking. So there's no options. One of the things this year that I'm doing is I'm not trying to do any more options. Options are great when markets are in a undervalued to even like barely valued fair valued zone. But right now, with everything the way it is, I'm actually getting out of my options positions on some of the stuff that I have invested in before. So yeah, de-risk. 2026 is about de-risking for Chris.
It's funny because 2026 could be de-risking for some people, but the first 2 weeks has been like risk on, baby, outside of crypto. So
yeah, I mean, maybe we had a delayed Santa Claus rally. Yeah. So here we go.
Purposeful, but it is also meaningful. I mean, we believe there's a greater need for Americans and everybody to be investing with the growth of America. And I've talked about it in the past. We're telling people in India, you want to invest with the growth of India. And as the capital markets grow, and one of the big things our year and our quarter really suggest, the growth of the global capital markets is accelerating. The role of the capital markets in each society is, more and more countries are focusing on pillar 2, pillar 3 retirement. So it's all intersected with retirement. So as the growth of the capital markets, BlackRock is growing alongside the world's growth and the world's capital markets. And as we democratize investing, as we get more and more people saying, keeping your money in a bank account is safe, but if it's over a 20 or 30-year horizon, it's wrong. You want to be investing with your country. And we don't talk about that. And if you think about the investors, in January 1st, 2000, and the next year we had a 40% drawdown in the stock market. But if you just invested January 1st, 2000, over the last 25 years, you had an 8% compounded return. Okay, and this is why I don't get caught up in the noise and the ups and downs in markets, because over time, if you believe that your country can grow and differentiate us, and I do believe in American exceptionalism, and I do believe that America is going to grow above trend over the next few years, and so we should have more Americans investing with the growth of America.
Right. So you're a believer in capitalism. We know that.
Absolutely.
Are you concerned at all about what we've seen from the White House of late that would seem to be things that are not necessarily in keeping with that, whether it's telling defense companies you can't return capital to shareholders, as well as telling institutions you can't buy private homes, whether it's, what am I forgetting, Carl? There's any number of other ones.
Pricing, CapEx, comp, and capital returns.
Yeah.
Those are the controls.
And not to mention, of course, the Federal Reserve. I just wonder whether this government control thing is concerning to you.
Let's see what happens without. I'm not focusing on all the noise. I'm more focused on what ultimately happens there. But I do believe investing today is safer today than it was a year ago.
Why?
We have a ceasefire in Gaza. We are probably going to have some form of settlement in Ukraine that BlackRock's involved in terms of the reconstruction fund.
I think there's so much noise, and obviously it's going to affect some trades, it's going to affect some companies, some industry. But overall, I think the bull story is more alive than some of this noise.
Right.
I think, again, I've always felt we are too preoccupied on monetary policy and not enough conversation about fiscal discipline, fiscal policy.
Well, we haven't had fiscal discipline. I mean, one of the longer.
But we don't talk about it.
But you talk about it occasionally. Where's the national debt now? Over 38 trillion, right?
38 trillion and growing. And growing.
It grew last year, and it's going to grow this year. But we sit here and talk about one day it's going to matter, and I don't know when that day comes.
It'll show up when, and this is one of the big issues that's affecting us. We have the finest capital markets in the world. The U.S. Treasury market is the benchmark worldwide. If there's any hesitation or lack of confidence related to the quality of our markets, then we are going to see that in foreign ownership in U.S. Treasuries. And that's when we may have low inflation, but elevated interest rates because our deficits are so high and we don't have enough ability to finance it.
Right.
So
wait, that was the most important part. Real quick. Hold on.
But at that moment, if that happens, if we just see interest rates higher than the quality of the economy, that will show up. But I believe that we are actually beginning a new growth agenda. We're going to grow maybe 5% in the fourth quarter. If we could just grow at 3% for the next 10, 15 years, despite how large our deficit seems, our debt to GDP actually shrinks.
Yeah. So one of the major risks, of course, that Larry Fink highlighted, of course, was that increase in interest rates, even if inflation starts to come down, right? So imagine, right? Yeah, it's happening right now.
Well, okay.
Inflation.
When you mean rates, you mean yields. Okay, not like actual.
Yeah. So inflation is coming down, but look at what's happening with the 10-year Treasury.
Yeah.
Like, does that make sense? The market already knows you're going to get a dovish Fed, right? Yet people are not buying that 10-year Treasury.
And do you think Larry Fink's argument is that eventually they will, or that this is a new paradigm we have to set ourselves up for?
This is the bond market telling the government, you guys need to stop running fiscal deficits to the level that you guys are running right now. Y'all need to focus on making sure that you guys are living up to the obligations that you have, right? The bond market, it typically looks at things and says, you know what, there's not just a risk of inflation getting a real yield out of these instruments, but then also what is the risk of default? And so the bond market, by kind of retreating away from lowering the yields, that's why everyone who's been in TLT, including myself, has called it wrong.
Yeah.
Normally when you see this inflation picture starting to come down, the bond market front runs it and says, hey, I better buy the long end of the curve because I'm going to make a lot more money by locking in those low interest rates. The high interest rates in the long end of the curve. That did not happen. It's starting to go the other direction. So this is where I think the government eventually is going to be sort of forced into becoming a little bit more austere, in which case that could theoretically usher in some slower growth. But then again, I don't know. The Trump administration, they're not nearly as concerned with maintaining the balance of things as much as they are of winning the midterms right now. So maybe 2027 is where they really focus in on, on fixing stuff. After our growth has just been phenomenal. I don't know. This is where we may end up running into some sort of event. Like, what happens right now if the 10-year Treasury goes to 10%? I'm not 10%, sorry, 5%. And our inflation rate is, let's say, 2.3.
I don't even want to imagine what would happen at that point.
Yeah.
I don't know what Trump does. What does Trump say? What is Besant? How do you calm down? Well, so isn't this why gold is also running?
That's right. Because people are saying, I don't want to. Well, gold is a little bit weird in that there's a lack of credibility in this administration's policy not to necessarily mess with certain traditional what is it called? Traditional norms. So as an example, the US has been very, very actively sanctioning everyone, now doing all these tariffs. So all of these countries are saying, yo, I can't hold my money in treasuries. The goddamn Americans are just going to freeze my assets overseas. I'd rather buy gold. I'd rather not hold on to all my money in US treasuries that the government can just shut down at any time. So other countries are saying, hey, listen, we need to have more Forex reserves that are diversified. So people are saying, I don't want to buy dollars. I don't want to buy treasuries. I want to buy gold, you know? And like right now, the Chinese have been accumulating a ton of gold. The Indians have always been prolific buyers of gold. So a lot of people are saying, well, I need to buy gold because I don't trust the US government not to. And so a lot of this, and it's not Trump's fault necessarily. This happened under Biden too, where Russia invaded and then Biden kind of sanctioned a lot of these Russian banks in Europe and basically confiscated these Russian things. So a lot of these other countries, they're like, look, the US has been throwing its weight around using the US dollar as a primacy, as a weapon. And so the more and more you weaponize the dollar, the more and more likely it is that people want to get away from that dollar regime. So it's bad enough that you do it to your enemies, but now that Trump is coming in and doing it to his friends, you know, you're doing it to our allies in Europe and Canada, and it's not good, you know.
Yeah, the bond situation, because we had the scare back in Liberation Day where bond yields were inching at 4.8%. That's when Besant finally kind of started calming people down, said volatility will die down, and things changed. Then we had a 6-month bull run until October.
Yeah,
it's hard to predict how this would play out this time. But
yeah, so if you saw one of the other things that Larry Fink mentioned, which was that, you know, they're looking at future global growth as a key driver in capital markets. So if you look at the imbalance between the US, I mean, we have great capital markets here in the US, but if you look at the valuations outside of the US, some of them are actually relatively attractive compared to us. And if you go to emerging markets last year versus the US, they actually outperformed us, and they outperformed us by a very wide margin, you know? So I think let me show you the index EM.
The Nikkei, by the way, this year, the Nikkei, Japan is already up 4%.
Yeah. Look at this right here. Sorry. Yeah. Yeah. This is Globex emerging markets, ex-China. So it has all of the other companies around the world, excluding China. That's up almost 34% from last year. So 1 year return of almost 34%. And then if you want to include China, it's EEM, right? And that's up 1 year. Look at that. That's up almost 38%. Versus the S&P 500, 1 year is up 16%. So almost double.
What do you think happens to Dixie?
You mean to the dollar? I don't know. Yeah. I'm not a currency guy. That's like one of those things that
but it has to play a role in terms of your.
I mean, it sort of benefit. I mean, I know it from just general like, you know, like what is it called? Import and exports. Typically, when you have like the weakening of US dollar, that just makes our exports that's cheaper and imports more expensive, right? Because the dollar is weakening. So when the dollar is strong, there's a lot more buying power that the US has overseas. So you can go out there and buy way more stuff. Now, if the dollar is weaker, you can't buy as much stuff. So what it does do is sort of increase the amount of it sort of increases the US's manufacturing, because it makes more sense to manufacture things here as opposed to manufacture them in other parts of the world, which sort of plays into the agenda for the Trump administration, which is we want to do a lot more reshoring, right? So a weaker dollar actually helps with that policy, you know. And I mean, you've seen it. Trump has actually said that our dollar is too strong, you know. Let me see if I can pull that up.
He likes a weak dollar, but I think he likes it to an extent, because if I don't know. If it gets too weak, obviously we've got issues. But he likes it, dude. It was at 112 when he got elected in January.
Yeah, the dollar was strong, man.
And then you also have this. I mean, I don't know if you believe the Atlanta Fed with this 5% GDP thing.
I think it's real. I mean, some of it is definitely due to gold, but you know.
Hold on, let me Google. When is the last time the U.S. grew GDP at 5%? It's got to be like 5-10 years ago.
Yeah, but remember, there's a difference between nominal growth and actual, like, real growth, right? So if inflation is eating away 3%, right? Just because you print more money doesn't mean your GDP is that much better, right? So let's say your growth is, let's say 3% nominal, but only 2% real. That's not that great. That just means that shit is getting more expensive because you're printing a lot more money. So right here, Trump's strong dollar sounds good, but you make a hell of a lot more with a weaker dollar. It's like, so I mean, look, I don't want to make fun of Trump, okay? I really don't. But at the same time, that's like saying, okay, I have 10 Monopoly bucks, right? How much cooler would it be if I had 20 more Monopoly bucks, even though the same thing that I was gonna buy for 10, now I'm paying 20 for. So yeah. It's like this fugazi way of understanding something, right? It's like I feel richer, right? Because like this property was worth 10 before, now it's worth 20, right? It just doesn't make sense. So here's the problem. Everyone will feel richer, but the amount of things that you can buy with that same dollar is actually smaller. So, you know, it's just, yeah.
What do you think about healthcare this year? We'll end on that. UNH, is that still play? This Trump healthcare plan, like, do you even know what he's trying to do? Because it sounds like he's trying to like get rid of the current healthcare system, which is a pretty big system, and revamp it.
I think there is a lot of hate towards health insurance. So he's taking a hatchet to health insurance right now. One of the things, of course, is Obamacare. He just absolutely hates Obamacare. The insurance premiums have been going up significantly, primarily because of certain policies that happened post-COVID. They're not necessarily as... So I'll explain what happened. And this is something that you got to fault the Biden administration. I'm not going to try to sugarcoat it for anyone. The Biden administration basically let a whole bunch of people into the country, which is fine. You know, it happens. But not to the degree that it should have. So a lot of illegals crossed into the US. But then at the same time, you had this enhanced subsidy with post-COVID. So the government said, hey, listen, there's all these people, we want to help them during COVID. So we're going to give them a subsidy on their Obamacare premiums. So people got used to paying less for healthcare. Well, the Obamacare subsidies expired. Now all of a sudden these people have to pay more, and the insurance companies, they're like, hey, these subsidies are gone. You got to pay X amount of dollars. And so everyone is pissed off, saying, wait a second, last year I was paying X amount. Now I'm paying way more. What the hell happened? And one of the things that happened, of course, was that subsidy got removed. And so people, when you ask them to pay more, it's never fun. So the challenge is, if you give someone something, it's easy. But when you try to take it away, people revolt,
And so you think he's trying to play to the crowd around changing healthcare, but it might not actually get passed.
I think healthcare is one of those things, especially health insurance. It evolves more than it dies a slow, painful death. The health insurance companies, they're smart enough to know like how to make money in any situation, to be fair with you. Typically they have mechanisms in place where they can sort of push certain legislative changes that could boost up their profitability. Like I'll give you an example. Obamacare is there. Obamacare has a lot of provisions in it where you can't deny coverage to old people, sick people, and with prior existing conditions, right? Yeah. That's a good policy to have. The problem is if let's say you got rid of Obamacare, right? And you said, no, everyone is going to go out there and you just buy private health insurance. What happens is the insurance companies, you know what they're going to do? They're going to pick off the healthy people that are going to pay their premiums and never go see a doctor. and they're just not going to cover all the people who are in need and actually sick. If you're 55 years old, you've got a heart condition, you got diabetes, the insurance company, they have a way of basically saying, well, we're going to charge you $5,000 a month in insurance premium. Do you want to sign up? They say no. Okay. We don't need to deal with the risk. On the other hand, they will allow for a 20-year-old that's paying $200, $300, right? And give them healthcare coverage because they know the 20-year-old is not going to go to the doctor nearly as much, right? So now all of a sudden your margins actually went up. So the insurance companies, they would love to see Obamacare die, and people don't want to admit it. But I'll tell you one of the reasons why the insurance companies would want Obamacare to die. You know why? Because all of these companies, they have something called disaster plans. Do you know what the disaster plan is?
Nope.
They are garbage plans. They're trash. Okay. They barely cover anything. They cover shit if things go absolutely catastrophically wrong with you. And even then they are capped. Do you know why insurance companies like that?
I mean, they don't have to pay until the worst thing happens.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Obamacare, all these preventative services, all of this additional stuff, all of that stuff was covered. You can't deny coverage. There's there's periods where, like I said, Obamacare gave a lot of people health insurance, and they were some of the sickest people in the country that never had it before, right? So everyone is like, oh my God, I'm paying more for my health insurance. Well, the reason why is because you've got about 10% to 20% of the population that are absolutely some of the sickest people in the world, in the country. And they consume, I think, about 50 to 75% of all medical dollars. So the people who are healthy are all pissed off saying, how come I'm paying for all of these sick people? Like, why are my insurance premiums go up if I never go see a doctor? What they're not understanding is, hey, you're actually paying for a person who's like, in a much worse shape medically.
It's
and the
subsidized.
insurance companies, you're subsidizing them basically.
So do you think then he passes the extension of healthcare subsidies? I think they negotiate that with Congress, or
he already said he was going to veto it.
Yeah.
So the Republican logic is different in that they are more in line with, we just would rather give people the money and they go out there and they buy their own health insurance. The insurance companies would love that. You know why the insurance companies would love that? Because all of them end up going and getting a bunch of disaster plans, because who's like, yeah, I'm going to go ahead. I'm 25, 30 years old. I'm not going to go there and buy a $1,000 like golden plan. I'm going to buy some cheap level disaster plan that makes more sense to me economically. Right. So, so even though the Trump plan and the Republican plan seems like it's going to lower overall healthcare costs, and theoretically it could do it, because there's going to be less people going to the hospitals. When you have less demand on health services, right? That means that now there's going to be less inflation in healthcare services. If people have insurance, people will go use that insurance. If people don't have insurance, people won't use it, in which case now inflation, medical care inflation goes down. I mean, the one good thing I will say about the Trump administration, what they're doing with healthcare, is around pharmacy benefit managers that are basically always encouraging hospitals and pharmacies to raise prices so that they get more like a rebate function in their profitability, right? So the Trump administration is saying we should be a lot more transparent with how we bill things. And I'm in agreement with that. There are certain medications that you could buy over the counter for like $10, $15. You shouldn't have to go to the pharmacy, present your insurance card, and they're like, sorry, you got to pay a $30 copay for a drug that you could have bought for $15 over the counter. Does that make any sense?
No.
Right.
I get your point. And I mean, speaking of healthcare, this is what Trump had to say today about his weight.
So someone says right there, stop making it illegal not to have insurance. See, that kind of logic is dumb. It's super dumb. It's actually the most retarded thing I've heard in my life. Do you know why that's retarded? Because inevitably something is going to happen to you. And then when something happens, what are you going to say? The hospital says, yeah, let's let that guy die on the corner because he doesn't have health insurance. No, they're going to take care of him. And then you know what happens? The hospital has to eat the bill. And you know what the hospital does? They run on 1% margins. They raise the price of services for everybody.
Yeah, I mean, well, like it ultimately it becomes a question philosophically if you think of it as a purely individualistic concept or a public health concern. And I think the Europeans have thought of it much more as a public health issue, which is why, obviously it's been more socialized. But
I mean, look, they pay for it. Europeans pay for it with their taxes. We pay for it with some part of it taxes and then some of it from our employers, right? But the point is, do you want to live in a society where if you don't have healthcare coverage, people should die on the street? If you get a cancer diagnosis, that means that you should die?
No.
Do you want to live in that society? I don't.
This was the video of what Trump had to say today about his weight.
The story wasn't meant to be funny. People find it funny. But a friend of mine who's a very smart guy, very, very rich, very powerful man, actually. But he was very fat. And he took the fat, I call it the fat drug. I won't give you which one.
Manjaro.
Ozempic. It was too much to bear. Because after I told him that the drug does not work on him, because I saw him recently, he's actually fatter than ever. The drug is not working on you. You're going to have to go to something else. But it does work on a lot of people. It wasn't meant to be funny. People find it funny.
I mean, you have Novo in your stock draft. That one, the Wegovy partnership with Amazon. I think that's also part of this whole healthcare debate, right? Of how people are thinking about different ways to navigate.
I think one big mistake that people make, and this is something that we have to take into account. So US, we typically pay a lot more for our drugs, for our care than some of the Europeans do, some of the other parts of the world do. But then you also have to remember that the US is by far the world leader in drug discovery, the world leader in medical discovery. If it weren't for the US, do you know how many of these drugs would have actually been discovered? The billions of dollars it takes to discover these, these life-saving drugs, not a lot. So the incentive structure has always been the US. Yes, we do pay a lot more in healthcare, but it also means that we are paying for a lot of these companies to go out there and do the research that improves the healthcare of the entire planet. Right. Now, there is something to be said with, the president saying, look, I don't expect like Nicaragua to pay the same drug prices as someone in the US, but I do expect that the US consumer is not ripped off at the same level as someone that's in, Germany. Like Germany is a higher income country, right? There's no reason why someone in Germany should be subsidized to the level that someone in in Nicaragua is, right? So I think in that regard, they did play it smart by saying, look, we just want to be a little bit more fair. We are all supportive of drug discovery because that is a huge driver of human health improvement, productivity. But at the same time, it should not be something that's borne completely by the US taxpayer. It should also sort of like come from other parts of the world where they pay a little bit more for the same drugs that we pay a little bit less. That sounds reasonable to me.
Okay, last question for you, Meta. I know you're bullish on this one. Still think this one has a shot this year? I mean, I know it's had a past ugly couple weeks, but it feels like earnings should be enough to at least get her back to 700.
It's all going to be on Zuck and how he approaches that earnings call, man. Like laying off some staff in Reality Labs. People kind of got a sugar high from that and saying, yeah, Zuck is going back on like, spending Ozempic. I wish we could give Zuckerberg like an Ozempic shot where he just spends a little bit less money, right? But he's not like that. So when Zuckerberg came out and says, yeah, we're not going to do a 10 gigawatt future plan, we're going to do 100 gigawatts. And
when he said that, I was like, come on, Zucks. Like it takes 25 billion for 1 gigawatt. You want hundreds of gigawatts? Like,
yeah,
my peer is on the call. He's going to be all macho. We're going to set up all these gigawatts, yada. And then they're going to be like, but what is it going to do? And he's going to be like, we'll figure it out. And then that stock's going to dump. That is my fear for the call.
Yeah. So people are just worried, like, wait a second, like, huh? We're going to spend all this money? Like, and the thing is, at least with Zuckerberg and Meta and Facebook, they are it is a monetization engine for them using their ad tools that are improving. The problem is when you're spending that kind of money, bro, your ROI better eventually materialize. Otherwise, it's kind of like Reality Labs where they were spending how much? Like $20 billion a year?
I think it's 20 billion a quarter outside at one point.
Was it 20 billion a quarter? No, like there was an operating loss on Reality Labs. It's insane. So people are worried, like, wait a second, your goal is I'm going to spend even more money on AI. And the other problem is it'd be one thing if these guys were winning the AI race. They're actually far behind.
Yeah.
Like llama models are not doing
Well,
that
Meta
great.
is not winning shit when it comes to AI besides their ads. Otherwise, what is Meta doing in AI that's even remotely interesting?
I mean, there's stuff out there. It's just, we may not be necessarily as privy to it. But the point is, if they do have a Gemini 3 kind of catalyst, that could propel them much higher because they are the cheapest mega cap among all of them. Very similar to what Google was last year. The difference is that Google, they had two catalysts coincide each other. They had Gemini 3, which just started to gain a ton of market share on the consumer end. So people got bullish on that. But then there was also that antitrust litigation thing that kind of got put on the back burner. So those two catalysts really like propelled Google forward and their multiples expanded. So Meta's in this place where they're sort of spending all this money on AI, but they're not necessarily showing the greatest tangible. Well, you know what? I take that back. They are showing a tangible return. I just don't think the market is appreciating the level of CapEx that these guys have versus the output of a mass market product. Like I don't see anything on the consumer end that makes me ooh and ah about like Meta AI. Like, have you used any Meta AI products?
Oh, that's my point. I'm like, I don't know what they're doing in AI. Like, what is? Oh,
yeah,
there's nothing.
Yeah, ultimately, the main loser so far in this AI thing has been OpenAI, bro. I think that the chart that I saw was Google is eating the consumer AI and Claude is eating up enterprise AI.
Yeah. But like they can't lose though. We need, and also Sam Altman. I mean, I don't know if you've kept up too much with the Elon lawsuit, but it's getting a bit ugly, and he's tweeting about it, and they're like showing all these like leaked emails from Elon and talking about stuff, and like I just feel like dealing with all of this and their core business not really performing, at least based on what we've seen from Anthropic and Google. I don't know. That could get kind of scary, and maybe that's why Microsoft's been down this year, to be honest.
Dude, Microsoft is because Microsoft has tied their themselves to like the OpenAI mast, the amount of money that they've poured in, the amount of compute that they've poured in. So I don't know about you, but I use a lot more Gemini. Like I don't think I've been on ChatGPT in like quite some time.
No, I still only use ChatGPT. I don't use Gemini, but
really?
Yeah, but someone like you that has all your data and stuff in Google, it's like, yeah, I mean, yeah, there's gonna be a lot of people that just don't need to use ChatGPT.
Yeah, let's ask the chat. This is a good question. Do a poll.
I did this a week ago, I think, and I think most people said Gemini. To be honest, I think GPT was second, and Grok is like no one cares about Grok anymore. Okay, so which one do you use? Do you want to tell them before we end the big announcement you have, LifeWise, or no?
No, not yet. I'll let everyone know. I mean, yeah, I'll just let everyone know later on.
You're going to tell them eventually.
Yeah. I might have to do like a little tour, so I'll show you guys.
You just gave it away, bro. You might as well tell them now.
Yeah, I'm buying a house. I'm finally like moving up in the world. That's right. I gotta get a second and third job, but these damn interest. I waited like 2 years. I was like, all right, once these rates come down, I'm gonna get in. I'm gonna buy a house. The housing market is gonna come down, and it just does not come down. And I'm like, bro, I'm turning 41 next year. I'm like, there's more of a chance that I'll die in that house than not. So at this point, I was just like, screw it. I can't wait for the world to give me a deal. I just need to buy it. And something came on the market that was fairly priced. It kind of fit all the needs that I was looking for with my family and everything else. So, me and the wife just took the plunge, and
you didn't just buy a house. you bought a house.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
like he
Yeah, let's not
bought
go. Let's not go too far into it.
I'm not gonna say how much it was, but
Yeah.
I mean, you made a really big boy purchase, and so it's
Yeah.
gonna be exciting. I mean,
I think the part that, well, first of all, I haven't closed yet, right? So I'm going through underwriting right now, which shouldn't be too hard. So we've already got an offer that's been accepted and all that stuff. So I'm closing soon, but it hasn't closed yet. But I do have to say, growing up, I grew up very poor. I never imagined myself living in something like that. And I'm sure that the first at least year, I'm gonna have a lot of imposter syndrome. So we'll see. GPT and Gemini. Yeah, I'm telling you, Gemini is kicking butt, bro.
all I know is we need to have a big ass party in this house. We need to have an Atlanta meetup and have a freaking massive after party.
There's enough space. There's enough space. So let's do it.
Yeah, it'll be enough space.
Okay, heating and cooling that thing is gonna suck, but whatever.
But like, why this over a condo again? You just wanted to like settle down? Is that the?
My in-laws are getting a little bit older, so we kind of need to do that. We need to figure out the situation for that. I also kind of need a little bit of space. I actually want to. I mean, I'm gonna be forced to start the YouTube channel now and get over my talking to the camera fears.
Yeah, we're gonna finally, after 4 years, get a Chris YouTube channel.
Yeah, I just gotta realize, I just gotta learn how not to edit myself. Dude, that one time that I did that destroyed my confidence when it came to streaming one-on-one. You remember that? Do you still have that picture? Do you still have that clip somewhere?
Chris, I don't think I ever clipped it, but Chris tried to record a video and he put it out and I was watching it and he forgot to edit. So he was like, and so this is why. And then he stops, and it's like he's staring into like the universe. And then 30 seconds later, like, so that's why. And then he does it again, and I'm like, bro, this is hilarious. But when he's on someone else's stream and you're talking, you can talk for freaking 4 hours. And
yeah. I don't have a problem talking to a person, but when it comes like I'm looking at the camera and I'm talking, it's something of an acquired skill. I think what's his name, Couch Investors really figured that out nicely. You've done it too. You've done it. I think Jose's done it. Yeah. But whenever I do it,
act like someone's giving you a question and then you just talk.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. But yeah, dude, it'll be good. It'll be good to see you guys again in New York. You know,
that'll be fun.
At the meetup. Yeah.
So I will put the meetup in the chat. Yeah, Chris will be there. Steve will be there. Matt will be. I think this will be. I mean, I hope all of you guys get to be at a meetup again, but this will be the first. I think Tevis told me yesterday he's going to show up to the meetup. Yeah. Tanner, you might as well show up now, bro. Like, you might as well get everyone there. It's a quick flight for you.
Exactly.
But yeah, this is going to be the first meetup, I think, where everyone's there. And then hopefully we get to do it again.
Someone's asking Roswell or Sandy Springs. Roswell. Yeah. Don't go up and start looking for me all of a sudden and just show up at my door.
Dude, we need to have a party that breaks in the house. You know what I mean? Like,
no, let's not break in the house.
We need strippers. We need cocaine. Like, we need.
Nah, that's 20-year-old Chris. I talk a big game, but I'm a pretty big prude, dude. I'm a pretty big prude. I'm not into a lot of extra stuff. I talk a big game. I talk about doing coke, but I've never done coke.
No, I've never done coke. I'm too scared to do that stuff. But no, I think it'd be fun. I think we can finally get Steve. He hasn't left New York in like 20 years. Like, maybe
that's because he's an illegal immigrant. He's an illegal. He doesn't have a passport. I don't even know if he has a real ID. You know, I told him the other day. I said, you know, everyone thinks Steve doesn't leave New York because he just loves the city. I'm like, no, he can't leave. That's his sanctuary city. He tries to get out of the metro area. ICE is gonna get him. You know, I mean, the guy buys milk at a farm, a local farm.
Dude,
come on.
You've got
tell me that's not illegal immigrant behavior.
It's a hell of a theory, bro. This guy has always these horrible excuses for never leaving New York. I'm like, Well, I think we know why.
Yeah, because ICE is after him, bro. They see him on a plane. They are coming, bro. He is not getting past TSA at JFK. All right, he's not getting past. One look, and they're gonna be like, "Okay, Jose, right this way." You know, you're one of those light-skinned Mexicans. We know. Come on, let's go. So
I was with Steve a couple days ago in New York, and we were like, we had to go do something, and we had to meet somebody, and he literally was acting like a mob boss, bro. Like if you didn't know him, you act like, oh, you're talking to the guy who's the head of the mafia. Like it was crazy, his like presence when it comes to this stuff. But that's probably a front because he's an illegal immigrant. So I agree with you.
Okay, here's a question. Who would be the first one to collect all sorts of items, right, that can't be tracked by the government? An illegal immigrant.
Yeah.
Why do you think he collects all the silver and Pokemon cards? Because you could just, because if you're getting deported, you put a couple of Charizards in your back pocket, you good to go. You know, I'm telling you, he's illegal. All right.
Great theory. Yeah, he's talking about melting currency and shit, bro. I mean,
that is illegal immigrant behavior.
We got to pitch him this theory. We have to.
I think he needs to show us a photo ID, and it can't be like the Consulate General of Mexico ID. Okay, it has to be an American passport with that star on it. You know, the one that the TSA checks the real ID.
Yeah,
you know,
he's
definitely
illegal. So, new house, more risk off this year, and you know, you said last year you wanted to focus on your health. You've been doing really well with that. So I guess that's the plan for 2020. Buy the house, keep the health good, don't take crazy amounts of risk in the market.
Yeah. Yep. I think sometimes you have to wait for these fat pitches. You know, like who said that? I think it was Stanley Druckenmiller. Was it Stanley Druckenmiller or Warren Buffett? Warren Buffett's like, sometimes you just gotta be patient. You gotta wait for that one fat pitch to come out. And once it comes, you better be ready with that capital to buy shit, you know?
Yeah.
Like imagine right now you were loaded up with cash during Liberation Day. Imagine how much more your return would have been.
Yeah.
Right. So I think that's the key right now. So just woosah. We've had a great 3 years, man. It's not like at certain wealth levels, you're not looking for that next high, like that next hit. Are you? Like, I need to get that next 5Xer. No,
the FOMO is there, but like, man, the risk we took the past 3 years, like, I can't imagine taking the risk and then it goes the opposite way, and then you're just like, you can't believe you were stupid enough to do that.
Yeah.
Again, and it didn't work this time, you know. So that's what I wrote in my Substack for 2026 portfolio strategy. It's like, I just want to chill out. Like, I want to beat the market, but I don't want to go crazy trying to 5X the market. Like, I don't know.
Especially with the market being so expensive.
With the market being expensive, which it is, objectively it is. Now, certain names are undervalued, but like that doesn't mean the market itself is expensive.
Yeah, man. So like I said, right now is a good time to. And the thing is, that's why one of the things I've been doing is just looking outside of the US for companies that could be overlooked, you know, something that has a listing in the United States, but operates internationally, who's trading at a much fairer multiple. Because if you think about it, with all these tariffs and everything else, a lot of these countries and a lot of the people in that region may say, you know what, maybe I need to buy more homegrown products. Maybe I need to buy more domestic products. I mean, if you look at deglobalization, right? Maybe people buy less Nikes and they buy more stuff from their internal markets. I mean, that's a possibility, right? So,
very much is.
Yeah. So I think, and not to mention, remember, the rest of the world is in stimulation mode right now versus the US, who's still in restrictive mode to a certain degree. So
are you buying Grab here or no?
I am not. I already have a position in it, man. I think Grab is going to be a nice secular play. You know, there's, to people who think that this thing can like 5, 20, 30x, guys, there's 4 billion shares outstanding.
Yeah.
And they have warrants for more share issuances at $10.
And they'll expire this year in December.
Right. So it makes no sense for you to go absolutely crazy with things like share buybacks, raise your price of your stock up just so that you dilute yourself in 1 year. If anything, you should try to hold your stock down so that this way, after the expiration of those warrants, you're golden. you know.
I don't know if I saw you with Steve on Zeta, but are you a fan of that or no? That name.
I think Zeta could double. I don't know if it's something that it fits my wheelhouse. Like, yeah, I think it's a great company with some good growth prospects ahead of it, but I don't necessarily think that this is like a 10 or 20xer. You know, I think this is more like a market performer. And I think at this value, you know, you're not going to go wrong. You're not going to lose money, but I don't think you're going to like change your life either. But then again, that's what I said about balance wrong. So, you know.
Yeah, but people are saying this is the next Palantir. And I'm like, guys, my fair value is 35 for this, but people are saying, well, it's 150. I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting too. I'm getting about 35, 40 in the next like 4 or 5 years, you know. So
VG, it's making a move. Are you still just
congratulations to Derek. You know, Derek had conviction. He loaded the boat. Congratulations to him. You know, I'm telling you, venture global next decade, if your time horizon is long enough to basically ride out the volatility in natural gas prices up and down on the spot market, then you'll see that this thing is a cash flow machine. Yes, they are building out a lot of that infrastructure and they do have a lot of debt on the balance sheet, but anything that's like a toll bridge, you know, if you look at a bridge and you're like, oh my God, this is an unfinished bridge, I'm not going to invest in it. That's dumb. But then you go 5 years later, the toll bridge is running and you see cars lined up going back and forth, bro. That's amazing. And so once they start generating, and they're already generating free cash flow, but when they start generating a nice, durable free cash flow situation, the debt is not going to matter because you have a toll booth like business model, you know? So, and we're still very early in this. Next, like Venture Global is at least some level of mature because they do have functioning LNG facilities. Next decade is completely greenfield. They don't even have any revenue right now, but they are under construction and they do have relationships with a lot of other super majors that Venture Global is in lawsuits with, but Next Decade is clean. So Next Decade's reputation is clean versus Venture Global's, which is more of an adversarial role. So, you know, both of them are trading at, in my opinion, like, I mean, I think if you have a long enough time horizon, they'll do well for you. Let's just keep it at that.
So I was about to end the stream, but someone joined backstage, and I actually think we might be able to pitch our theory to this person.
Is it Steve? Is it Steve?
On this market close.
Steve. Can I just tell you something? What? Having Teams on your phone is the worst decision anybody could make because I have been on a call for the past hour and 20 minutes, the whole ride home, and I just got done. I'm turning on the computer.
That's an exciting Friday, dude. Nice
I mean, listen, I love our CFO and our CAA. They're great, but the last thing you want to deal with on a Friday at 4:58 is a phone call that goes until 5:55.
Okay, so we're about to end, but we have a theory for you. Okay.
Okay. Before you get into the theory, are you excited for tomorrow?
I am very excited. Chris, do you know I'm going to a card convention with Steve? Be a bunch of nerds.
I didn't know that. I didn't know
gambling on Michael Jordan rookies or whatever.
I didn't know they made Pokemon cards in Spanish.
It's so funny because he doesn't get it.
I don't get it. What the hell are you talking about?
Well, so we have a theory, but do you have anything to say before we? Do you want me to switch to your? Yeah, there he is.
Yeah. What's your theory? This should be good.
Okay.
I think you're an illegal immigrant, bro. I think you're a light-skinned Mexican pretending that you're an Italian in the middle of New York City. You go out to the farms and you're buying raw milk and shit, okay? In my opinion, you're actually going out there and buying Cojita cheese. Everyone knows, okay? You don't have any sort of papers that allows you to move freely across state lines. You don't have a passport.
Because you never travel. Now we know why you never travel.
Whoa. State lines I can travel between. I do have a license.
Listen, Nassau and Suffolk County are not state lines, okay?
Listen, I can travel into Jersey. I just went to
Okay.
Atlantic City.
That's like one sanctuary city to another sanctuary
Listen,
city. I'm
that's
talking
state
about
lines,
outside
buddy.
of the tri-state. I'm talking
That's
about out of the
state
tri-state.
lines.
Steve, would you visit Chris in Georgia?
Yeah, I get around to it.
No,
Yeah,
you
because
would
he's gonna have to use the
TSA.
Greyhound.
You would have to go
He's
through
gonna have-
TSA.
Who the hell's using the Greyhound?
You are, because you're illegal. You can't get past TSA, bro. That's what I
Our
think.
theory is you don't travel because you are an illegal Mexican that's light skinned.
That's
And
right.
all these Pokemon cards you're buying, like, so you don't have to have actual assets.
Do I need to go get my passport and show you I have a passport that's expired?
No, it's
A
probably
Mexican
fake.
passport doesn't count. You gotta get.
No, it's a U.S. passport. It's in the bedroom. It's expired.
Why is it expired, bro? Chris,
Yeah, I
didn't
never
want to
renewed
hire
it.
you, bro.
I never renewed it.
Wow.
What if you had to go out of the country for some reason?
So, Chris, that's a great point because I got yelled at. I didn't get yelled at, but my wife said to me, she's like, I have to travel overseas for work in April. You need to go get your passport updated. God forbid something happens.
Thank you. Thank you.
So I will have an updated passport in the next couple of months.
I wonder if Homeland Security has expedited processing. He says it's his wife, but I'm pretty sure it's like a contractual marriage now. It's like she's trying to get you. She's trying to get you a citizenship, right? She hooking you up. Is that what it is?
I mean,
Yeah, he's not denying it. He's not.
I think we
denying
cracked the theory for why you don't travel.
I know.
We figured it out.
Yeah.
No, listen, I want to get Italian food. I can go to Little Italy. Want Chinese and go to Chinatown.
Yeah, but wouldn't you want to go to Beijing and get real China food one day?
No, dude, I got Flushing right here. I'm good.
Yo, General Tso's chicken is not a regular
Good.
thing. There's a difference between Chinese food in China versus Chinese food in Flushing.
I'm good.
All right.
Oh, so anyway, that was our theory on why you don't travel.
It's
I was
not
like,
a- listen, it's not a bad
Chris is buying a new house, and I was like, oh, we're all gonna come travel and have a party. And he was like, Steve can't come. I was like, oh yeah, he doesn't leave New York. He's like, because he's an illegal. I was like, yeah, that makes sense
I
actually.
love it.
Yeah. I mean, have you ever seen him out of New York State tri-state
No,
area?
never.
Right? Just saying, we've known him for almost 5 years now, right? I've never
Dude,
seen him
never really.
outside the tri-state.
I haven't seen him
Well,
past
outside the
year.
tri-state, I haven't been outside the tri-state since 2019.
See, that's crazy.
That's crazy.
And the only reason I left the tri-state is because I went to Vegas for 5 days in 2019. And before that, I've left the tri-state 2 times in the past decade. I went to California for a training at work day, and I went to Vegas for a couple of days.
All right, so maybe you're not illegal after all, But technically, that was before the second Trump administration, so I don't know.
Technically, technically, both of those were in his first administration.
Yeah, but they weren't as strict as they are now. So
I don't know.
All right, Steve. Well, make sure you and the wife, once I close on this house, I'll host you guys. You guys should come and stay.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
No, you have to commit. You guys will get on a flight, come to Georgia.
Yeah.
I got it. Got what the dates are, but yes, we'll figure something out.
Good. I'll
There
take
you
you
go.
to a
That's
steak. I'll take you to a steakhouse here.
Love it.
Yeah.
Are there even any good steakhouses in Atlanta? You guys
There's good food down the south, man. Don't
No,
sleep
there's
on
good
the
food,
South.
but is there good? No, there's great food.
I'm not sure I should say this, but I when I made an offer on the house, I looked up all the neighbors just to see, make sure they're not wearing. And the guy next to me, he has a really fancy steakhouse here in Sandy Springs.
Nice.
So I'm gonna make sure I schmooze my way into the hey, what's up? How's it going? And then hopefully can get a nice inside connection to some really nice restaurants here in Atlanta.
Steve had an announcement for everybody as well, so we'll end on your announcement, Steve.
So
he's getting a citizenship finally. Go ahead, Steve. Sorry, that was the last one. I promise. Last one.
I mean, do you think I could buy one with this?
See,
no. Look, this is so. I didn't. Okay, so hold on. Before you, I said 20 minutes ago, Steve and I went to the city. We had to talk with someone, and that person, Chris, I said this right, interpreted Steve as a mob boss. I didn't say anything else than that. But now that Steve showed you guys that, Steve takes out a wad of cash. I don't know
Yeah.
how much cash, but a wad of cash. And the guy looking at him is like, why? Like, what? Like, why do you have so? And I was like, dude, he's a mob boss. And I think the guy actually thought you were a mob
Yeah.
boss with the way you took out that cash.
Or an illegal, because who else carries around wads of cash?
The question that they asked me was just like, and they were so serious too.
Yeah.
It was crazy. No, we're going to the show tomorrow. Like, I'm not going to have this cash on me after tomorrow.
Yeah.
Like, the
You're
show,
you're
I
ready to
got things I got to buy tomorrow. But
Okay, so you're gonna be spending. Okay.
Wait, so
here's-
when you go to these conventions and you want to buy stuff, you have to buy it cash, right?
yeah, I mean, I'm bringing a freaking wad, but they take PayPal and Venmo also, but cash is always cash.
Oh,
But-
that makes sense. Yeah.
Oh, it's gonna be insane. I mean, there's over 500 tables.
Mhm.
It's crazy.
So what is it, like Pokemon cards?
It's majority sports cards.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
All right. What's the announcement, Steve?
So I think everybody thinks that I was screwing around with all this stuff. Before I do it, Chris, this is what it looks like, or at least the main floor looks like. I'm going to bring this up. Like, this is part of it.
Okay. That looks cool.
It's going to be freaking great. I can't fucking wait. It's going to be great. All right.
All right.
So,
Enjoy.
I think everybody thinks I was screwing around with this whole silver thing.
Mm-hmm.
I am here to say that I am not.
I
And
know. I
went
saw
to
you.
the bank.
I saw your collection.
I went to the bank and I have secured a box of half dollars and a box of quarters, and I will be picking them up on Friday of next week. And over the weekend, we will be streaming Stevie Silver Hunter.
Okay, my question to you is this:
I didn't know you had a
What
name
is-
for this already. There you go.
What is the profitability do you think you're going to achieve by doing this?
We did the math last night on ChatGPT, Chris.
We did.
Okay.
If you find 4 quarters, okay,
Mhm.
pre-64, the silver content in those quarters equals 64.58, I think.
64.58? Really?
Yeah.
Just
Just
a
the
pretty good
quarter.
ROI.
Yeah, dollar face value.
But it's not easy to find those quarters. That's
It is not well, I'm gonna waste my time so nobody else has to.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
you don't think the banks are smart enough to say, you know what, we're gonna get centralize all of these. I mean, I don't even know which bank takes coins anymore, to be honest.
So here's the story. So I'm not gonna say where I went. I went to one of the largest branches in New York City. Okay.
Okay.
And they had to order them for me because they order boxes of change every week. So they added boxes on. I'm not sure where they're ordering them from, but the bank is not, rolling them and giving them to you. I bought the full box. They're not sorted or anything from them. So
Okay, so
we're
here's
gonna
my
find
question.
out.
Here's my question to you.
Yeah.
Are you gonna have to spend time rolling them back up?
I have an
giving
idea.
them-
No, I got an idea.
Okay.
Here's my idea. I'm going to have a tray. I'm going to get a second cam. It's going to be on top so everybody can see what I'm doing. I'm going to take a freaking razor blade. I'm going to slit the freaking roll. The silver quarters look different than all the others. I'm not looking at each year. I'm just looking at the edges. If all the edges look the same, I'm taking an empty quarter roll, dumping it back in.
Okay.
Quick and efficient.
You're doing awfully a lot to find these silver dollars,
I'm
man.
becoming a treasure hunter. Next thing you know, I'm going to get a metal detector. I'm going to be out on the beach.
I think he's having one of those phases of life where he's excited to
Yeah.
do this. And I'm here for it, dude. I'm ready to see the content.
Dude, I'm ready for the half dollars too. Like the half dollars have more silver content than the quarters. I'm ready.
We're all tuning in. At least for episode 1. We're all gonna be watching this shit. Like
I'm gonna tune
no
in
matter
to
what.
one of it. I'm gonna tune
Here's the other
in to one of
thing.
it.
People are freaking getting crazy. So the penny is done. Okay.
Yep.
People are betting that the nickel is going to be done. And if the nickel gets done, bless you, if the nickel gets done, then right now the melt value of copper and nickel in an actual nickel is 7.2 cents. You have a 40% spread built in on every 5 cents. There are people buying boxes of nickels and storing them, hoping that the government freaking discontinues nickels. Because right now you are not allowed to melt legal tender, but if they get discontinued, they're betting that you will be allowed to melt it.
What are the odds that they discontinue the nickel, though? I think it's less than 50%.
I have no idea.
I think when I see something like this, it kind of shows that the currency is getting debased. I mean, when you start
100%.
when you start saying the dime is the new penny, bro, that's like that's bad, you know?
Dude, I showed Amit this video last night of
Yeah.
somebody with 1,000 cell phones taking out all the electronics of it, putting it in this big vat, putting nitrous oxide on it, and doing the chemical compounds to extract the gold from it. What did they get? Like 29 grams of 24-karat gold?
Wouldn't
Like
it be
people are
easier-
scavenging freaking computer parts and TV parts.
Well, one of the things that we have here, my wife is actually telling me, because when we do move, we have like a bunch of electronics that are just old. They're doing like free e-cycling. So basically,
Oh,
they'll
yeah.
erase your hard drive and all that stuff.
Oh, yeah.
So before, you actually had to pay to recycle your electronic waste. But a lot of electronics have all sorts of precious metals, components, like, you know, that are made of like gold and even silver.
Silver, copper,
Yeah. Yeah.
Steve,
So
dude, Steve, hold on, Steve. You just made NBC front news, man. What is this, dude? You just came on the news, bro.
Who the hell made this? That's not even whole milk.
That's
some
2%.
bullshit 2%.
Dude, that looks like the background. That looks like Forest Hills for sure, man. I don't even know
Dude.
how they geotagged that.
Dude.
They found it.
That is freaking 2%. That's not even whole milk. That's not me. I wouldn't be caught dead with 2%.
Steve,
Not
dude,
me.
we understand this whole pursuit you're going on now. You're an illegal and you need to secure the currency. Like, we get it, dude.
It's not me.
Who created that? Who created that, bro?
Dude, this Twitter account. This guy, the philosophical investor, he makes these AI things every day. Did you see this one
Big
yesterday?
ups to you. Big
This
ups
shit-
to you.
This is
That's hilarious,
Dude,
delivering us. some-
Amit, is somebody making a painting for you?
Oh yeah, my boy William.
All right, so he reached out to me and he asked if he can paint that picture for me.
Dude, you need to say yes and get a hand-painted picture of you like that. 100%. You need that.
At first, I thought he was screwing with me.
No, he's good. He's a really good painter. Put it in the background. Dude, you have
No,
empty space in the
dude,
background.
I freaking went on his Instagram. He's legit.
Oh yeah, there he is. There he is.
Yeah.
William. He's absolutely legit. He's painting.
Yeah, I thought he was screwing with me until I went on his Instagram.
He's taking the picture of me and Carp from September. He's painting that one for me. He's super.
That's
legit.
awesome.
You know,
Craziness.
Steve, do you think you're having a little midlife crisis with this whole
No.
thing? So then, what's the motivation? Are you just
Dude,
like,
when I have a midlife crisis, trust me, you'll know.
how would we know? Like, what would be the sign?
Because I already know what I'm buying.
Okay, what do you put in the chat? What are you buying if you have a midlife crisis? Put in the chat. Oh, he definitely knows. He's getting ready to look it up.
No, I'm getting you a picture.
For me, it's gonna be a Porsche 911. If you see me riding around a Porsche 911, you know that Chris is having a tough time with his mortality.
I don't know what I would buy in a midlife crisis. I really don't think I would buy a car, bro. I don't give a shit about cars. I don't think I would buy a watch.
I mean, Chris is going to love what I bring up, considering what he said.
Is it gonna be a 1965 Stingray? because that's another one that's the
A
Corvette.
pinball machine, Rolls Royce.
Rolls Royce is like an old man's car. I don't know if that's a midlife crisis. That's like a late stage in life
Bring it up
crisis.
in that.
Bugatti?
Oh, dude, this is the Shelby
AC Cobra. It's a
Cobra,
kit
yeah.
car.
That's a
Dude.
real one. That's a okay. I
Oh
thought that
no,
was
this
real.
is a real one, all decked out.
They make these custom for you, right?
Yeah, backdraft racing.
Yeah, I've seen
Wait, how much,
that.
how much is this? Oh, 140 grand.
140 grand.
They make cheaper ones too. I've seen them.
So
I was
when
looking
have my
for a
Texas, I will come drive to your place in this.
That's gonna be a long ass drive.
And I'm not even going to have to worry about anybody stealing it because nobody in this generation knows how to drive a stick.
Yeah. That's one of the things I was looking for, one where they could do like a electric one. I think I've seen that where they've been able to customize and actually put electric motor in it. Yeah, but it looks really nice, dude. It's really nice.
The AC Cobra kit car is sick.
So then why are you doing this whole silver thing?
Because I want to try to find silver, baby.
He's
That's
just
how
got
you know.
Steve just has a lot of time on his hands. That's all.
It's for the love of doing it,
dude.
Ahmed is too young to have a midlife crisis. He can't even imagine what he's gonna do when he gets to our age.
But I'm like 10 years away. I'm 28, so it'll 40 is when it
12,
starts happening. Right?
12,
Okay.
12, dude.
Listen, we're gonna go silver hunting.
Steve, you need to start a farm.
Listen, I don't think I would mind a farm.
Steve,
no, you need to start a farm. You should stream the cows all day.
So in all seriousness, I do want to go hunting and have like 300 pounds of meat in like 2 freezers in the garage. I think that'd be great.
We'll go upstate. Upstate, you can actually go during deer
Whitetail,
season.
fucking love venison.
Venison. That's what I'm telling you. There is this guy in San Antonio, this magical person. He made this rub on this venison. I have been looking for this gentleman for like.
You've been saying this for so long.
You don't even know. I till this day, I am craving that venison that I had that day. Have never. We need to go to Texas and go get some barbecue, dude.
Oh, dude, when Amit does a meetup in Texas, we're going.
Oh, you'll actually be there?
You'll
actually.
Yes, I will. There's a lot of people in Texas. I will go to Texas.
Yes.
The next one's in LA. Would you come to LA?
No, I'm not going to fucking California.
Have you ever been to California?
Yes.
When?
I went for a workday training. I told you that about 15 minutes ago.
Okay, so you went for a training, but you didn't actually experience.
Dude, I was there for a week.
Yeah, but you were in corporate shit all week. Like you haven't.
Yeah, I was in Silicon Valley.
Dude, California is beautiful. You gotta experience it. We're in America.
My cousin sends me pictures all the time. He lives in Newport Beach. Like I give a shit.
You need to come.
Yeah, I've got some family. I've got some family out there too. Still haven't been to California. There was a few times where I was supposed to go, but then something came up and I couldn't go. But yeah,
Texas, I'm down for the barbecue.
Yes. We just got to pick a city. Probably Dallas, but we'll see.
Yeah, it's probably gonna be Dallas. It's not gonna be Houston, Michelle. Don't yell at me. It's not freaking Houston. It's probably
Dallas. Dallas is good. Austin's good too. Depends.
I feel like Dallas is where Houston and Austin can come to, but Houston is not where Dallas and Austin can come to. That's the difference. So,
all right.
Amit, do you want to get breakfast tomorrow morning before? Or do you want to just meet there at 9:30? What do you want to do?
Dude, it's like really. I thought it was an hour away. It's like an hour 30 away. So I have to.
Is it really?
Yeah, dude, it's far. It's upstate New York. Like
at that time, dude, it's Westchester. It's like the beginning of Westchester. It's not upstate.
Wait, who has the best barbecue? I guess there's like a debate that's happening in the chat right now. Some people are saying Dallas is a shithole, San Antonio.
I'm not talking about Texas. I don't know enough about it. Talk shit.
Yeah, I was stationed in San Antonio at Fort Sam, but and I have family that's in Dallas. I know a few people in Houston now, but yeah. Who has the best barbecue in Texas? Dallas has the hottest girls.
Does it? Dallas?
I don't know.
Austin. Why are you guys hating on Dallas, bro? Everyone's hating on Dallas. I mean, a lot of you guys are in Houston, I know, but like, there's just like, I think the meetup can't happen in Houston.
Houston has the best food scene.
They're probably right about that.
Okay. Yeah, all the girls look Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders. Okay. You know what? If we do go to Texas, you know one thing we want to do? Helicopter hog hunting.
That's becoming huge down there.
What the hell is that? Helicopter hog hunting?
The freaking hogs are out of control and they go legit hunting from helicopters.
Yeah.
Wait.
You ever seen?
Wait, but that's like shooting them?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Holy crap. You get on a helicopter and you shoot hogs?
Yep.
Yeah, they're overrunning the area.
Bro,
It's actually encouraged.
This is the most American shit I've seen in my life.
The European mind cannot comprehend this, bro.
What?
Little. Yep. You get a helicopter, you go shooting the hogs, bro.
Bro, he made a business out of this? Like,
that's how Americans are, man. Look at that. Is that a saw? The guy's using a damn saw? Jeez.
Amit, do you know what SAW stands for?
No.
Squad
automatic weapon, baby.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'll see you tomorrow, Steve. I'll see you
Sounds
both in
good.
a couple weeks.
Yeah.
Me and Steve are doing something really fun in New York next. Okay, let me announce this right now. I'm not going to announce it. I'm just saying Wednesday, I will not be able to do a market open because me and Steve are going to be in New York City. Chris will tell you off camera. And we're doing something really fun, but we have to keep it a secret until February 1st. But that means there will be no market. I tried to do it after the market open. It's not up to me. It's up to the forces that are out there. So Wednesday is going to be a really cool day.
You guys can blame me.
You guys can blame Steve. Although it's not really Steve's fault. It's,
look at what Spencer said. She's like, they're getting Steve's citizenship. Amit's going to be his witness. Amit's going to be there as a witness.
Yeah, it's really special to make Steve. Steve, who was the first president of the United States?
George Washington.
Who was the seventh? See, dude, we've been over this so many times.
It was Jefferson, right?
was two. Jefferson was two.
Oh my gosh.
No, Adams was two, wasn't it?
Adams two, or
I think Adams was two.
Dude, to be honest, I don't even fucking know. But I was born here, so it doesn't matter. But Steve, you need to know this.
You were correct, Steve. See, Steve got that right. Maybe he deserves a citizenship after all. It was John Adams and then Thomas Jefferson.
Listen, maybe I need to go get my passport and show you I actually have an expired one.
Andrew Jackson was number 7. So
okay. Yeah, I wouldn't have known that.
Yeah.
No, but it's gonna be really fun next week. But it will require missing the market open. But people will enjoy when they find out.
And you can blame me.
All right, folks. Thank you all for being here. Really, really appreciate it. Steve, you know the market's not open on Monday?
I was told that today by our administrative assistant who said, I know you have no idea what holidays we're off on or when they are, so don't come to work on Monday because we're closed. I said, what the hell do you mean we're closed on Monday? And she's like, Martin Luther King Day. I'm like, it's Martin Luther King Day already? She's like, yeah, the middle of January.
No, President's Day is February. Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, I legit forgot. So we'll do a Monday future show, but no Sunday show. I mean, Steve will be live probably in the weekend still.
I'll be live. Figure something out.
Okay.
All right. Please make sure to follow Chris on X. I'm leaving his X right here. And then Steve's YouTube. I'm linking it in the chat. And we will see you guys on Monday. I mean, Steve and I will be live at least for like 20 minutes tomorrow from the thing, right?
Yeah, I think we should go live for I at least want to get your raw reaction while we're there and show everybody what it looks like. And like, Amit, you need to go into this thinking like this is a live stock market that you don't sit behind a computer for, that you do in person.
Yeah. It'll be fun. It'll be exciting. Should be a good time. All right, that's it. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate it. I'll see you guys Monday and on Steve's channel tomorrow. Chris, thank you for joining. Steve as well.
Have a good night, everyone.
Have a good one.
Thank you, everybody. See you guys Monday. Bye, everyone.